I like the image you sent me on Discord. Do you also get the feeling that the world is going to end on these Higurashi nights? Like it's Majora's Mask and you hear the clock ticking? Yeah. You should be sending these things to the server as well. We'll get started soon. It's important night. Kit's gonna set his plan in motion. We might see a guy die. Like we'll see how because I mean, there's the whole day, right? Because we're gonna go out there, we're gonna go in the woods, and we're gonna steal ourselves. We got to dig the hole. That's a big thing. We got to spend all day digging the hole to put the body. But then it's not until like later in the day, towards night, when we're gonna be luring them out because the festival's at night, if I recall. There's so many ways they can go. I'm scared. I am afraid. Dude just worse than Hitler. We gotta kill this guy. Like, no debate about it. It's gonna happen. Let's do it. Review the tip. We probably did. Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Yeah. Ooh, scary. I'm so hyped right now. I think I'm gonna reread this again, though, actually. Like, I know we read this last time, but I am gonna reread it. She's kind of like the King Vaughn of the Little Demented Cannon. Okay. July 1982. Okinomiya Police Station, 1st Investigative Division. Chief Takasugi. Blank Prefecture Police Headquarters for the Eradication of Drug-Related Crime. Shishibone Branch Head Blank. Regarding incident blank, designated as undercover investigation. This message is to inform you that a section of the testimony records of an incident under this police headquarters jurisdiction has been found that is thought to be related to the undercover investigation of the incident in question. Okinomiya Police Station X, Nimizawa Village housewife slaughter incident. During investigation of suspect blank blank, who was arrested for possession of illegal drugs, there was testimony alluding to the crime in question. It became clear that it contained information that only the perpetrator could have known. Therefore, we are prepared to share this record of testimony with you. Duplicate attached. If this testimonial is to be believed, then there is an extremely high chance that suspect blank blank was the perpetrator in the incident in question. In addition, on receiving this testimony, the head investigator on the case inquired as to the incident with the Okinomiya Police Station. The responsible party, Okamiya Police Station, misunderstood, and in compliance with the designation of an undercover investigation by executive order from Prefectural Police Headquarters on July 1st, 1982, General Administration B-112, they did not explain the incident's existence to the head investigator as they should have. Because of this, the head investigator did not realize the importance of the testimony as it related to the case in question, and as a result was negligent when combing the scene. We apologize for having effectively ignored it until now. In addition, there is a postscript stating that suspect blank blank died while in confinement yesterday on XXX. Are they a patsy? Okay. Sunday. The fireworks I heard before noon were probably to announce the opening of the festival. And the weather certainly wasn't festival weather. It was cloudy. The television forecast was calling for possible downpours starting this evening and lasting until around midnight. As long as it wasn't raining at the moment, the festival would go on. Fun fact, at the time, Rikishi thought this was the last chapter he put extra effort to the story, including his work involving the Child Consultation Center. Interesting. The festival had to open, or it wouldn't begin. The Furude Shrine grounds were probably decorated beautifully for the big performance that only happened once a year. Many paper lanterns were hung up, all in the auspicious colors of red and white. The sound of electric motors at the stalls. He also said that he gave them more credit than in real life, which is sad. Yeah, man, it's tough. Like, with this chapter specifically, how it centers on, Sadako's abuse, just how helpless you feel to do anything about it, and so then you get into this, extreme plan of killing Teppei. Like, it feels so defeating. The voices of kids running around. Their happy families watching them, smiling. Today was the festival of Watanagashi. Was everyone already partaking in the festivities? What about Sadako? Had she forgotten her days of suffering just for a few moments, while smiling that brilliant smile she hadn't in so long? This would probably be the longest day of my life. It'd be a day I would remember vividly for as long as I lived. I told my parents I'd go to the festival this evening and lounged about during the early afternoon. We may have lived under the same roof, but they couldn't help being surprised by the deviation from how I usually spent my time. Glancing at my parents out of the corner of my eye, I went to the front door. I tied my shoes just a little tighter than normal, as if to express the firmness of my resolve in those knots. When I decided to murder Sadako's uncle, I was in such a state of excitement I almost went crazy. And when I was planning out the act of a murder, which went directly against all the morals fostered in me thus far, I was in such a state of calm I almost thought I had lost my emotions. And then, yesterday, when I learned Satoshi had made exactly the same phone call as me, I didn't know how to describe the muddled feelings I had then. And now, entering today. Right now, I lacked all the emotions I'd possessed until now. To make a simple analogy, it's the kind of feeling you might get right after you wake up, when you're still half asleep and you don't feel anything very clearly. I had no anger towards that man for the violence he had committed against Sadako. Nor did I feel sadness towards or sympathize with her. I felt no discontent towards my friends, who just waited and watched, never reaching out to her with any help. and no nervousness or fear towards the day that had finally come. Yes. Right now, you could say I was in the best possible condition for carrying out a murder. When it came down to it, I'd probably need to let my violent emotions take control. But right up until that moment, I'd be like an insect. I would slowly, surely, and silently move towards my one objective. And then, when I had my prey, I'd attack like a bullet. There was no emotion in that. Just the creeping mindset insects possessed. That sort of sneaking feeling was just the best. I would kill Sadako's uncle like he was a worm. I had to laugh a little at thinking that way, thinking like an insect. Tug. I tightened my laces one more time and walked out the door. I don't think our guy is okay. He's fully just gone blank. Completely just putting everything down. I brought the shovel out of the front storeroom. If I twist it like so and split it into 3, I could easily hide it in my bag. I twisted the shovel and dismantled it. And even though I'd done it countless times before, I had trouble for some reason. Like I was suddenly clumsy now. I knew why. It wasn't because I was nervous. My weak-willed self deep within me was hesitant. I knew that the act of dismantling the shovel was the first step I'd take to becoming a murderer. Genuinely, what the fuck did Rikishi just haven't see at his job? I have to imagine, with that kind of job, fucking everything. The last twist was conspicuously difficult. Conspicuously. Can't speak. But I finally submitted before the strength of my determination. The area around Sadako's house was outside my circle of activity. But even just riding my bike in the middle of the day like this might seem suspicious to an observant person. I definitely want to avoid meeting and talking to someone I knew. With that in mind, I chose the route to my destination carefully. I didn't mind going the long way around. How long this day would be, I could never be too careful after all. Still, I was fortunate enough not to run across anybody on my way to the planned site of the crime. I wasn't superstitious at this point, but it was a good omen. The place I would dig the hole was in this grove, a little further into the woods. I was worried I might not make it to the same place as before, since there were no signs to guide me, but I arrived there smoothly and as expected. I took another look around. Not even a hint of human presence. The air was a little bit damp, but it was comfortable in the cool shade of the trees. I took the disassembled shovel out of my bag and began skillfully putting it together. Then, I stuck the tip of the shovel into a soft-looking patch of ground and pushed on it with my foot. The shovel would split into the earth if I put some strength into that foot. The act of doing so seemed awfully like the point of no return, and it made me hesitate. I was just digging a hole with a shovel, but it made me gulp hard. Calm down, Keiichi Maibara. Let's do a countdown. Get it done on the count of 3, okay? Alright. 1, 2... I couldn't do it on the countdown, despite it just being sticking the shovel into the ground, and I had to count down 5 or 6 times. Damn it, I'm just digging a hole. This is pathetic. As I thought that, I put strength into my heel like I was stepping on something unpleasant, and split came the sharp noise. informed me just how hard it was to dig a hole big enough for a person. No decent person would ever come here anyway. Maybe it would be enough to cover him up with some dirt. No. No. Every time a naive thought like that crept into my mind, I bit down on it with my teeth and dug even harder. Dug enough now. To hide him like this. Every time I thought that, I would go down into the hole, grow disappointed at how shallow it was, and return to digging. The thin layer of sweat on my brow eventually formed into drops and fell to the ground. My back was even in worse shape. My damp shirt adhered to my skin, and it felt so disgusting. The things I couldn't stand the most were the mosquitoes. Maybe they were attracted by the scent of my sweat. The white and black striped mosquitoes would cling to me whenever I let my guard down. It was hot. It was disgusting. It was sticky. It was itchy. All those uncomfortable feelings surged through me in waves. Damn it all. So what? You tell me to pack up and go home? Is that it? I hadn't yelled at anyone. It was me talking to myself. Me telling myself something. Why was I feeling this way and digging a hole all the way out here? What benefit would digging this hole give me? What harm would there be in not digging this hole at all? Wait, in the first place, who ordered me to dig? When I thought it over, maybe ever since grade school or even before that, my whole life had only been me doing what other people told me to. I didn't mean it was somehow constrained, living a life just based on the commands of others. And I didn't mean I was too lazy to try and find my own road in life. Metaphorically speaking, yes, it was like a road. I'd never been particularly physically fit. I didn't hit puberty very early, and if all my classmates and I got in a line, I'd usually be on the average. And it wasn't like the captains of the dodgeball teams would have a passionate rock-paper-scissors contest to see which would get me. During those kindergarten and grade school years, I felt like someone was only worth how fast they grew and how fit they were. Looking back on it now, it was really uncomfortable for me. The thing that turned all that around was just a few words from my mother.
Keiichi?
Keiichi.
あなた、塾に入る気はない?
Would you like to go to a cram school?
学校の勉強がわかるようになって楽しくなるわよ。
You'll better grasp what you're learning in school, and it'll be more fun. The very first test I took at a cram school was kind of like a game. It was a lot of fun. It wasn't like the test with the same exact problem dozens of times in a row. Every question had a picture to it, almost like one of those puzzle books that came with manga magazines. If my studies at school had been like this, it would have been way more fun. Several days later, I went to the cram school again with my mother and the enrollment paperwork. Mom and the person at the cram school had a really long, heated discussion, so I accidentally dozed off and missed most of what they said. But I clearly remember one point. Mom had made a loud groan, surprised at something.
61って平均点が61点ですか?
61? Do you mean his average score was 61 points?
いえ、違いますよ、お母さん。
No, not at all, Mrs. Maibara.
全国展開する当塾での平均偏差値が61です。
The deviation from the mean of all our cram schools across the country is 61.
簡易式の知能検査でも非凡な数字が出ています。
He's showing extraordinary numbers even on a simple intelligence test.
まず申し上げて、前原圭一君は 大変に頭がいい。
First, I'd like to say that Kichimabaru-kun is extremely bright.
圭一が
Keiichi?
でも学校では大した成績じゃありませんし、
He doesn't have very good grades at school.
通信簿も2、3、4が適当に並ぶ平均的なもので、
He has average marks on his report card, B's, C's, D's.
何かの間違いではありませんか？
Is there some kind of mistake?
いくつかの知能テストとも重ねましたが、その結果、興味深いことが分かりました。
We cross-checked with several tests as well, and we learned some very interesting things as a result.
前原君は意味を持たない問題に非常に弱いのです。
Mabaru-kun is extremely weak when faced with questions that don't have any meaning.
無味乾燥で自身の生活に結びつかない内容の問題に興味が持てないのです。
He just has no interest in simple, dull questions that don't have to do with everyday life.
2+3 は分からなくても、リンゴが2個あって3個増やしたら何個にという形なら理解できるということですか？
So even if he doesn't know what 2 plus 3 is, if you told him he had 2 apples, then got 3 more, he would understand that sort of question?
その通りです。
That's right.
例えば、正六面体の展開図を書けと言われて混乱する圭一君も、サイコロを切り開いたらどんな形になる？
For example, instead of telling him to draw a flattened, foldable cube, what if we asked him what a die would look like when cut open?
というふうに聞けば、見事に答えられるのです。
If we did that, he can answer beautifully. Then the person from the cram school showed her a page from one of the exams I took. It was a paper with questions about construction. Construction questions were unusual, so they were really cool, weren't they?
正二十面体の展開図を書けという問題です。
In this question, it asked to draw an unfolded regular icosahedron, a shape with 20 faces.
この問題を二十面体のサイコロを作るにはどんな風に厚紙を切ればいい？
He got the autism. When we rephrased it and asked him how he would cut out a piece of cardboard to create a 20-sided die,
と聞き直したら、圭一君はさも簡単そうにこれを書いてみせました。
Kichikun drew the answer as though it were easy.
これは平凡なことではありません。
This is not something an average child can do.
圭一、
Keiichi,
あなたどこかの本の雑誌の付録か何かで二十面体のサイコロを作ったことがあったの？
have you ever made a die with 20 sides from a magazine extra or anything? Dice only went from 1 to 6. I never even considered before this test that there were dice with more than 6 sides. So it was fun to imagine what kind of shape a die that went up to 20 would have. If I had a die like that, I could win at Snakes and Ladders against anyone. Get this guy into D&D now! So I immediately wanted to make it. Finally, I entered cram school. There were only 4 students in the class they put me in, which was called Select. It was the highest class, and some of my classmates were in lower classes. And when I remembered how much better they'd done at things like dodgeball and the 50-meter sprint, I felt happiness well up within me for the first time. Even if I wasn't as good at them physically, I triumphed over them in other ways. It was fun at first. The more I did, the more I was praised. My teachers at school suddenly started pampering me, and it felt good. My parents were satisfied too. I enjoyed seeing them satisfied. The more I listened to my parents' commands, the more fun things I got. That did happen, didn't it? I grinned dryly in self-deprecation. It was only at the beginning I enjoyed learning more and more. I gradually given that they could put me to sleep with their lectures. And well, I was a disagreeable sort who bragged a lot about how much I knew. And the ways of the world wouldn't let me remain in that state of ecstasy forever. I would do as I was told, then I'd go above and beyond their expectations, and then they praised me. I was happy for that, and the cycle repeated itself like the wheels on a bike. I thought moving forward like that was how life worked. The bicycle. when I moved to Hinamizawa, I realized just how inadequate it was. Some things happened, and we started saying how moving and getting a change in atmosphere would be nice. And then my father, he had a place that he liked, that he'd gone to a few times to draw the nature. He started saying he wanted to bring his atelier there. With me in blank amazement, they decided to move to Hinamizawa. After that, I met them, didn't I? The first day after transferring here, I went to the classroom with the teacher. I thought it would seem pitiful for her to bring me in there, so I placed my hand on the door before she could, slammed it open, and set foot into the room. Clatter. The thrilling, powerful way I opened that door was none other than my own determination to try doing my life over again. And then, within seconds, that determination took a hard counter to the face. A blackboard eraser fell on me. Plus, there's a huge rock inside. It was a supremely painful trap someone had set up. Oh, come on. Sadako was already beating me right from the first day I transferred? That frightened me. I was bewildered. The class was surprised too. I wasn't just surprised that the students in the class were all in different grades and were different gender. And as I spent more time with them, my surprise continued to grow. This fresh sense of surprise had never left my life, even to this day. Every day was a fresh new surprise. I've never had a single boring day since coming here. The days were lively, spent with the other club members. This is really the first time we've, seen another being in a little bit. I haven't seen these two, their sprites in a minute. We played Old Maid with... Oh, it's over already. That's how... We have been in background drawing zone for, a while. We got our first character sprites in a bit, and we're right back out. We went all out as regular participants in tournaments at the toy store in town, and many, many more things. Recently, during those times, there was the bento competition. It was then. That's when I saw an unexpected side to Sadako. Yeah. And it warmed my heart remembering it even. How brave she was. Part of her heart always waiting for her Nini to come home. And I vowed to become her Nini. Sadako may have been nagging and overly critical, but she knew how to take care of someone. But though it might have seemed like she was taking the lead, it was actually her way of depending upon another person. Even if Satoshi and Sadako's lives as siblings were confined by their uncle and his wife, there were still warm, sunny days. When did those sunny days all go wrong? What mistake was made? Lamenting tragedies of the past would do no good, and I told myself that so many times. But I did anyway. Keiichi. Isn't that why you chose your own path? To take back that life? Nobody ordered you to do this. You decided it on your own. You don't desire anyone's praise for this. You thought it all through yourself. You'll carve it out yourself. You'll do it now. This wasn't a path I could see very far down, like the road parents or society could offer. It was a narrow path, dark and utterly distressing, one for which the next step would always be shrouded in darkness. But the disheartening path would keep on going forever. It was an unlimited path, and there was nowhere I couldn't travel. The kind of path only available to those able to imagine where they wanted to go. Don't be ashamed of breaking from the brightly lit, paved road. In fact, feel proud that you found your very own path to walk. And I hadn't discarded the paved road either. Once I achieved my goal, I would go back to that bright road, and then I'd spend those average sunny days at my leisure. Crush. When I next realized it, the hole had grown so deep I couldn't believe it. Did I dig all this myself?
これだけ掘れば十分じゃないか。
I think digging this much is enough, right? I put my shovel into the bottom of the hole. I would drag the body here, throw it into the hole, and cover it up with dirt. Even if it took me time to camouflage it by putting plants on top, it would all go much more easily than digging this hole had. I glanced at my watch. It was almost evening, and I hadn't realized it. Man, it's so sad he's so disappointed in all this. I got close to getting teared up when he started talking about Sadako again. I got close. I started to feel my eyes. I may not have felt the time passing, but digging a hole this deep must have taken quite a lot of time. I took a seat on a slanted rock nearby and wiped the sweat from my brow. Now, once it got a little darker, I'd go get the metal bat I hid in the schoolyard. Then I'd make the call to lure him out. And then I'd do it. The number of things I needed to do to reach that moment were dwindling. I felt that moment closing in on me much more keenly than I did the passage of time. I didn't have any hesitation, but I still felt that contradiction. At every step in this process, I had a few chances to hesitate, to turn back, to let myself lose my nerve. Having to endure those million temptations and wait for when the time is right was an indescribably slow and painful torture. I had thought myself acting all weak because of that, but I stopped midway through. This was okay. It was fine. I could detest the abnormal act of homicide as much as I wanted, and it didn't matter. I wasn't going to be a cutthroat killer after today. I would pass through this strange day and go back to the world I was in before. If I fell to the level of a psychopath who thought nothing of killing, I wouldn't be able to go back to my old life. So this was fine with me. I didn't have to feel ashamed at hesitating to kill. I was cursed at the same time I was aware I was human. I exhaled lightly and stood. I concealed my presence and sharpened my senses in all directions to search for anyone around but me. Okay. Let's go. One step at a time. I would walk my own path. A path no one had forced me to walk.
行くぞ、
Let's do this.
前原圭一。
Ichi Maibara. The cicadas made an annoying fuss. Their chorus covered up the suspicious noise of me breaking twigs underfoot. And their chorus filled the path far ahead of me, letting me know I'd be alone for some time. The cicadas blessed the path I walked, encouraging me with every last ounce of strength they had. Always with these cicadas. The sky was far above. In not even an hour, the veil of night would draw near and the sky would be tinted with dusk. By that time, the Higurashi would let me hear their chorus in place of the cicadas. When that happened, would everything be over with? Everything have ended? I said something along those lines when I left Sadako's fate up to a public agency. But this time was different. I would do it. I would carry it out. I would end it. It would all be over very soon. Everything would end. Yes. And the Higurashi cried. I don't like the text moving on its own. That creeped me out. I don't like that. I'm hype, okay? There's nobody at school. I couldn't hear the playful voices of children. It was the first time I'd seen the school with such a lack of human presence. Uishi, I need you! Still, I quieted my breath and looked around, not wanting to be unprepared. It had gotten darker outside. It was almost like my eyes could see more clearly now. I made absolutely sure of my safety, then walked to the heavy construction machine I'd hidden the metal bat behind. I had a tinge of worry, a premonition, that someone had found the bat and hidden somewhere else as a prank. If that happened, would I take that as an opportunity to desist? If it really wasn't there, then... The sensation of chilled metal. It was still here where I left it. It hadn't run away. Satoshi hadn't run away. He'd waited here patiently, for me.
待たせたな、サトシ。
Sorry for the wait, Satoshi.
いよいよだが、覚悟はいいか？
It's been a long time coming. You prepared for this? Through the metallic touch, Satoshi grins at me in my mind. So I should be asking, you know. I did this last year already. You should be more worried about yourself.
上等だぜ、サトシ。
Right on, Satoshi.
目に物を見せてやろうぜ。
Show him a bad time. Satoshi's back got lighter and lighter, and fit in my hands like I was being absorbed. Didn't feel wrong to swing this. I could move it around so naturally it was like an extension of my own right arm. Of course it felt like that. Satoshi and I were holding one bat together. Next, I would make the call to lure the man out, getting happily through the stalls. I hadn't considered where to make the call from. My house and Sadako's were pretty far apart. If I called from my house, I wouldn't make it. Couldn't I use the school phone? But, as I thought, the room was locked up and I couldn't get in. Shit. So naive. Should have at least figured this part out. Couldn't call him. And just for that, was today all over? I'm sorry, Satoshi. And just as I cursed my own naivete, a miracle occurred. A bicycle came into the schoolyard. It was a familiar middle-aged man. Oh no! No! Oh, okay. One from the Forest Service field office. Why? Wasn't today Sunday? Was he here to pick up something he forgot? Anyway, the forest officer went around back and felt around in his pocket, then unlocked the door and entered. Okay, we got a divine blessing. Thought you were about to get that AC. No, I thought Mr. Mr. AC himself, Uishi, had shown up. You saved me. The metal bat, through just my contact with it, told me this was a chance I couldn't allow to slip by. Sections for the forest office and the school were neatly separated. I felt the man head into the forest office storehouse, which was so far in the back students weren't allowed into it. The door didn't match its fittings well, so it didn't close all the way, and the gap in the door opened slowly as if to lure me in. I took a deep breath and went in. I tiptoed along, silently and stealthily, and made it into the teacher's lounge. That was the only place with a phone. As I held my breath in the teacher's lounge, I heard the Forest Service officer walking back over. Then the back door clattered shut and was locked. I glanced out the window at the schoolyard and watched as the man got in his bike like nothing had happened and rode out the school gate. The school once again emptied, becoming deathly silent. I waited for a bit to make sure the silence was the real deal, then reached out for the telephone on the principal's desk. Oops. Crazy how the stream's only been like 40 minutes. I feel like an eternity. No, I feel like I feel like we've been streaming for like 2 hours. Shit's getting real. I mean, we left off at a very particular moment. But damn. Dude. We're gonna kill this guy. You're so close. I know. What is this?
Pick up the phone, baby. I know you're home, baby. It's lit. I'm in the zone, baby. Zoned out. Short up. What about baby? Pick up the phone, baby. I know you're home. Pick up the phone.
Sorry.
Pick up.
Sorry. I was stalling because I was really trying to dig up that file because I didn't remember where I had it saved. I waited for a bit to make sure the silence was the real deal, then reached for the telephone on the principal's
Pick up
desk.
the phone.
Oh, okay, I'll stop. I fished Sadako's house's phone number out of my pocket, and the one from their house now, but what to say exactly when he picked up. It's by how many times I'd gone over it in my head like water. I counted off 3 heartbeats and spun the dial. Call sound. Sadako's uncle. Pick up.
Pick up the phone, baby. I know you're home, baby. It's lit. I'm in the zone.
I'm sorry. Now, of all times, hope that he wouldn't pick up.
Pick up the phone.
And the feeling of doom and the knowledge that I couldn't save so I have to stop. This is a serious moment. We can't. Okay, let me get it out of my system.
Pick up the phone, baby. I know you're home, baby. It's lit.
Okay, I'm going to delete it. I'm gonna delete it so I can't do it anymore. Okay. Now of all times, the hope that he wouldn't pick up, and the feeling of doom and the knowledge that I couldn't save Sadako if he didn't, whirled around in a vortex. Hello? It was the voice of a grumpy man, like he had just woken up. He picked up. See, I would have been a prime opportunity. Hello? Say your name so I know you're Hojo, you asshole. It'd be terrible if I got it wrong. Made up my mind. I had all the initiative on my side. Here we go.
こちらは下根市沖宮警察です。
This is the Shishibone Okinomiya police station.
北条さんのお宅ですか?
Am I speaking to the Hojo residence? I was changing my voice, but did you really think I sounded like an adult? Do you believe I was the police?
Hi.
Oh, yes.
北条ですけど。
This is Hojo.
今、お宅のお嬢さんの北条聡子さんをこちらで保護しています。
We currently have your daughter, Sadako Hojo, here with us.
え?
What?
サトコが
Sadako?
あいつ何かやらかしおりましたか?
What did that brat do? He fell for it. I could tell by how tense he was that he didn't doubt my words.
詳しい事情はこちらにいらしてからご説明します。
I can explain the particulars once you've arrived here.
すぐにこちらへ来ていただくことはできますか?
Would you mind coming to the station right away?
今ですか?
Right now?
風呂に入っちゃったからあんまし表に出たかないんですがね。
I already took a bath myself, so I don't really want to go out like this, though. What? You want to come because you already took a bath?
はい、今すぐです。
Yes, right away.
すぐ。
Right away.
たく。
Jeez.
サトコのやつ何をしちゃったんですか?
What the heck did Sadako do?
詳しい話はこちらでいたします。
I'll explain once you're here.
では、お待ちしていますので、よろしくお願いします。
I'll be waiting. Thank you for your assistance. ちょっと。 One second.
俺警察署がどこかわかんないんだけど。
I don't know where the police station is.
どこよ場所?
Where am I going?
ど、
Moron, what the hell? Okinomiya police station? I don't know where it is either. Are you from around here? Oh, you know that. A greasy sweat came over my body. Oh, this is not good. Oh, there's so much hinges on this. Eventually, just as I was about to choke, he spoke.
消防署の隣でしたっけ?
Oh, next to the fire station, right?
遠いな.
It's pretty far. Thank goodness. He remembered on his own for me. I didn't care where the police station was, as long as he left his house to get there.
では、お待ちしていますので。
Then we'll be waiting here.
あ、
Oh,
あ、
wait.
俺警察行ったら誰んとこ訪ねればいいんよ.
Who am I asking for once I get there?
あんた名前は?
What's your name? Top of that, he wanted to know my name? Just leave your goddamn house already.
前橋と申します。
My bashi.
では、失礼します。
Excuse me. That was close. Almost thoughtlessly told him my real name. Managed to change the last syllable of it, but... I put the receiver down like I was running away. That wasn't great. That wasn't great. My fingers were trembling. I was soaked with a tepid sweat. I wasn't just nervous about the phone call. With that call, everything had finally been put into motion. I left the school. We just gotta pray to Oyashiro-sama above. But I don't like Oyashiro-sama. That guy ruins my day. It was locked before, but it was easy enough to open from the inside. But I couldn't lock it again after I left. In terms of being thorough, I wanted to lock it, but I couldn't waste time going back to the teacher's lounge and looking for the key. I needed to rush back fast as I could and ambush him. I zoomed back to the scene on my bike. If Sadako's uncle got out of town before I got there, everything would be over. He'd learned there was no one at the station named my bike. Yukatas? I don't know. They must have been on their way to the festival. Many people in Himizawa knew my face, though I didn't know theirs. Even just passing by them like this made me uneasy. But I didn't generally come around here, so those living in the area might not have known much about me. It didn't matter right now. I need to get back as fast as possible, control my breathing, and to ambush the man. I hid my bike in a thicket and picked up Satoshi's bat, which I just left hidden in the shade. And then I held my breath, waiting to see someone. I wondered if he still hadn't gotten here. Maybe he went right out of the phone call and passed by here already. I couldn't figure out which it was, and was set upon by an indescribable impatience. Calm down, Keiichi. Even if he came here already, he passed by here on the way back, right? The end result would be the same. It wouldn't change the fact that he'd die. Probably be coming on his motorcycle. How would I stop him then? I figured it'd be best not to think too hard and just hit him as he passed. Fucking tense! I'm scared. To help falling. And then the chorus of the Higurashi stopped. The sound of a bike approached from far away. I couldn't tell what sort of motorcycle it was from its sound, but I'd seen it parked before, so I'd know. It was getting rapidly closer. It was almost here. If he just went a little farther, he'd cross into that thicket and appear in front of me. I'd take a moment to make sure it was him. Then when I had, I'd put my plan into action. The motorcycle appeared. A few easily identifiable characteristics told me it was Sadako's uncle's bike, without a doubt. Was it really him? Was it really Sadako's uncle? Wasn't making a mistake, was I? I looked at its characteristics again. Its color, shape, most of all the man's clothes. Face. Those last feelings of hesitation, I did away with them. Sadako, now, your nini will end it, okay? Closer, closer. The bike came closer. Let's go. Satoshi? Yeah. Whoosh! I jumped out of the thicket. I used my shoulder to basically tackle the uncle on the bike with all my might. He gave a dumb shout as his bike completely lost its balance. Finally, it fell, the bike scattering clouds of sand, and after spinning, it stopped. Our uncle, tossed to the ground, didn't understand what had just happened, and groaned for a few moments, crouched on the ground. My breathing started to become ragged. No, I couldn't have this emotion. Some weird secretion crossed through my brain and nearly made me hallucinate. Her uncle was groaning. Now was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. What was I doing? All the sounds in the world cut off. My mental chaos from a moment ago withdrew like a lie, and I could feel the temperature in my head rapidly cooling down. The tension in my muscles all went away like the strings they'd been attached to had been cut, and I let my hands dangle at my sides. It wasn't quite like exhaustion. You calm down now, Keiichi, my bra? Do you need to remember again why things got to this point today? Scrape. Scrape. I stepped over the pebbled path, taking one step, then another towards Sadako's uncle. The more I walked, the more my breathing calmed. The more I walked, the more I felt my body cooling, calming, chilling with frost. Yes. At this moment, the sky had lost permission. I could feel the cooling substance going through my whole body, even down to my capillaries. Her uncle was at my feet now, still on the ground like an idiot. I smiled coldly at how ridiculous he looked. That hurt. That's all it took for it to hurt. Sadako's heart hurt much more. And now you're gonna feel that. And with your life, I'll make up for her pain. I erased all unnecessary information from my mind. I prioritized the murder of this man. Execute, execute, execute. Wham! Utterly calmly, I delivered my first strike to the back of his head. I wanted to get at the most effective spot. At least during that first moment, I'd have to attack him while he was at his most defenseless. If he was hit in the head, he'd cover his head. It was a defensive reaction all humans made, like machines. He used both hands to cover his head, so he couldn't pick himself up off the heap he was on on the ground. Like pounding a caterpillar into the dirt, I hit him over and over. If he covered his head, I'd hit him in the side. If he covered his body, I'd go for his head. If he rolled over, I'd strike his feet, his knees, his elbows. I didn't care where anymore. By just delivering one blow after another, I induced panic in him. I retained my overwhelming advantage, but I hadn't done nearly enough to deliver a fatal wound. Her uncle skillfully pulled himself up off the ground and started to run like a fleeing rabbit. It wasn't a judgment he'd made after seeing my face and deciding whether to fight me. Right now, he was fleeing by instinct, just trying to escape from the threat that had presented itself. A counterattack from the more physically capable uncle is what I was most concerned about. He may have run, but it wasn't all that unlucky. And the odds were in my favor. The uncle didn't run away towards people, but off the path and into the woods. How pleasant that he would run in a direction where nobody else was. He was fleeing into the strange geography, like a rat that instinctively runs into tight spots over and over. Yes, he was no longer human. He was a rat. The blood vessels in my legs expanded, and my total oxygen supply increased. I lowered myself to gain the most explosive velocity I could. Without breathing, I became a wind-like shadow and dashed. I crossed thickets, crushed dead tree branches underfoot, and dove through the woods like a bullet. He ran so cowardly, arms flailing as he went. After catching up to him, I didn't need so much as a blink of an eye to strike him again. The first time I'd felt like this. Well, this was the first experience I'd ever had killing someone. felt natural continuing to do this for the first time. And that meant I had this much talent for killing. Or perhaps the act of killing was so simple that anyone could do it. I didn't struggle or grow tired at all chasing the clumsily fleeing uncle. No matter how much he ran, it was like trying to get away from his own shadow. He couldn't get away from me. I could easily aim at his back, his shoulder, and his head even from this unnatural stance, but it didn't disturb my mind, trying to run away because he didn't want to die. He didn't want to be eaten, like a herbivore running with all its might, trying to get away. Despite all the attacks, despite all the hits, he kept on fleeing without even staggering. And despite the bad footing in the forest, he impressively never tripped over anything. There was no need to admire that fact. It was simply proof that he was no more than an animal. He was chased, he would run. He was going to be killed, he would run. He bared his fangs at the weak, but couldn't oppose the strong whatsoever. He was lowly, vulgar, a diminutive animal. Such a puny little creature had harmed Sadako. Scar after scar to her body and mind. Deep wounds that might not ever go away as long as she lived. My cold and calm emotions suddenly turned into bestial ones. My personality changed into something specialized for murder, purely to devour the diminutive animal before me. The uncle gave a puny little shriek, covered his head, and ran. Impressed by how much you can run, I will choose the moment at my leisure. Your legs will hurt, your lungs will feel about to burst, your head will hurt from lack of oxygen. If you feel the pain has become worse than death, by all means stop any time. Without turning back, suffocating on his terror of the approaching death, he just ran shamefully onward. He ran, but was chased, his head bashed with a metal bat, sweat and drool flying everywhere, blood clinging to him. From his mouth came the sounds of coarse, irregular breathing and high-pitched screaming that verged on crying. And pleas for forgiveness to someone, I didn't know who. Each and every second was a second of atonement that I granted him. Now, run! And fall and moan and die. Where'd you even crawl out of anyway? You were never here before. You were never here, you should never have showed up. If you never showed up, our lives would still be fun and enjoyable. You'd have gone to today's festival, waited for each other, and gone to the shrine laughing. We would have been playing amongst the stalls right about now. We'd be browsing the strange food stalls you only saw at festivals, trying to get prizes from goldfish scooping, ring throwing, or target practice. Mion would surely make it into a competition, and we as a club would have a grand time. Everyone would have been cheering for Rika-chan's dedication dance. And everyone would say how fun it was. Give us energy for days to come. Fun, enjoyable, and funny. Warm time spent with friends. That would have happened. But it didn't. It was all smashed to pieces. There's no doubt that would be what the world was like if you'd never showed up. You were the obstacle. The mistake. The heresy in that world. But I would correct that mistake now. I would erase you and make it so this last week never happened. Tonight was the Watsunagashi Festival. The holy night, where taking just one life was permitted in the name of Oyashiro-sama's curse. Ah, it looked like the Higurashi stopped crying at some point. When the Higurashi silenced. Lowly one. The hour of atonement is at an end. The end. End! You don't have to run away anymore. Die with those dirty brains of yours smashed everywhere. Lightning and thunder struck like an explosion. It was so loud it shook the ground and I smelled gunpowder. The response I got this time is clearly different from the one before. The metal bat crunched into the crown of his head. It was like the top of his head had caved in. The bat felt like it was biting him. It had been the final killing attack that visited him, when I didn't overlook the opening he left as his knees gave out under him. I remained alert for a few moments, then thud, thud, planted both knees in the ground, and then fell forwards, bearing his head in the ground. I'd been holding back my ragged breathing. Now it all came out of me like a dam bursting. My head was dizzy and light, and unable to maintain my balance, I leaned against a nearby tree. The uncle didn't try and guard his head any longer. After a disgusting sort of spasm, he stopped moving. Did I get him? Did I get him for sure? I fought back my exhausted urge to fall over where I stood, and drew towards him carefully, bat still at the ready. It was possible he was faking it and trying to wait it out. Should I check for a pulse? I realized right away, though, how unnecessary that would be. I thought he might be faking it, and I would just have to keep pummeling him until I was satisfied. I fought back my ragged breathing again, and then I swung my bat far above and brought it down. Clunk. His body leaped like a bow, but he didn't try and cover his head. Then, once again, I aimed for his head and swung. His reaction was the same this time. After spending a few moments making his head into mochi, hits gradually started to feel different, and started to spray a filthy dark red liquid everywhere. That was enough. It was definite now. I had absolutely killed him. There was no sense of accomplishment, nor one of regret. I didn't feel anger towards Sadako's uncle, or pity towards Sadako herself. Instead, right now, I was feeling like my heart had been stolen by the downpour. It had begun down to the ground. The excitement within me faded as the rain washed away the grime. In exchange, my shoes were so wet they made splashing sounds. Despite abusing Satoshi's bat like that, it wasn't bent very much. There were a few dents in it, probably from hitting the man, but nothing that would make it seem different from before. Instead, it had been stained, black with red, with mud and blood. That itself would be evidence. One piece of evidence needed to prove that my delusions hadn't just been daydreams, and that I had ended Sadako's uncle for all eternity. Alright, Keiichi. Calm your mind. Time for passion is over. Now was the time to be cold as ice. I needed to bury the body. But where was I? I'd simply followed the man as far as he ran into the darkness. I couldn't take a guess as to how far we'd run. It was already pitch black around us, and the only light I had to go on was the very faint lights on the road a little further down. It was so dark out. I hadn't noticed the darkness until just now. The vision was so good I could see the man's ugly hairline. Could have counted the pores in his head. It was only now that I realized how much crazy strength I had mustered at that moment. I went over to the streetlight. I looked up and down the road, desperately trying to figure out where I was. What's with the car?
ここは
This is... Oh, no. This was the one road connecting Hinamizawa to the town. We were unbelievably far away from Sadako's house. The two of us really run so far a distance? My surprise at that was accompanied by knowledge of the miraculous fact that despite running so far and making so much noise, we hadn't come across anybody at all. There was a long way between here and the ambush location where I'd dug the hole. There was no way I could carry the body that far. Wait, aside from that... The bike the man took here was still lying in the middle of that path. That would be an issue. The police could tell whose motorcycle it was by looking at its license plate. They wouldn't just leave it at that. Thankfully, the corpse was in a dark forest. In terms of urgency, dealing with the bike would come first. And I wanted to get the shovel back from where I'd left it next to the hole. I shouldn't drag the body there. Have to deal with it right here. Fortunately, the ground was like mud from the downpour. It was more sludgy here than where I was before. Of course, my bicycle was still over where I'd left it too. It still wasn't over. I would completely hide the body, not allowing a beginning to happen. Backwards, and calm my mind even further. It struck my brow mercilessly. They were actually quite comfortable, and for a while I let my desire have its way. After confirming that I was sharp again, I started running through the rain. The motorcycle was in the grass at the roadside. Considering how it looked, pelted with the rain and covered in mud, it actually seemed like it had been lying there for a long time. The plan was to drop the motorcycle into the swamp. Oh man, I don't know. I lifted the bike up. I didn't think it'd be so heavy. Still, pushing this thing all the way to the swamp was really not something I wanted to do. I could no longer ignore my exhaustion, and it warned me numerous times of how far away the swamp was. This motorcycle. I wonder if I could ride it well enough. Once I got it going, it would be basically the same as a bicycle. Wouldn't it get me to the swamp quickly? A plan suggested by my exhaustion. The anxiety of getting on a motorcycle for the first time withdrew. We turned the key. Then you just kicked this pedal, right? Yeah. Yeah. It's on. And then, I gripped the handlebars. First the right, then the left. Maybe I twisted them too much. The bike lurched and did a wheelie like an angry horse. I lost it for a second, but it was just a problem. It went well. Very odd, but I got used to it quickly. Mion once told me you could get a scooter license with it, but I didn't know how. It packed on the seat of my pants and hung difficulty. I carefully pressed the button labeled light, and a rather strong light came on, illuminating the way forward. I probably really shouldn't have turned it on, but I didn't have any way of seeing at this point, and had zero confidence I could ride through this darkness. As the rain came down on me, I maintained a precarious balance and inched my way towards the swamp. Along the way, I ran across a few people who seemed to be returning from the festival. But none of them had any interest in me. They were either all soaked through with the rain and hurrying on their ways home, or had their umbrellas low and their heads down. Yesterday I might have been wary of even these passerby, riding out in the open like this instead of say ideas naive, brought on by my exhausted state. I climbed a steep hill. On a bike, the hill would have put me out of breath, but I just had to accelerate a little bit to climb the entire thing. Motorcycles sure are convenient. For a moment, its lights illuminated a sign before I passed by it. Still, it wasn't like the way to the swamp was cordoned off by a metal fence or anything. Parents and teachers would get mad at you if they found out you were playing at the swamp. Some of the bad kids in my class apparently snuck out here sometimes to see the giant crayfish in the place. They talked before about how they'd go to the candy shop and buy some pickled squid, and then just tie it to a fishing line and throw it. There's a tiny ritual shrine and traditional ropes on one of the trees. If I slammed on the accelerator from the cliff-like stop I was on now, the thing would fly straight into the middle of the swamp. And to be careful not to fall in with it. I drowned and disappeared. Man, what a stupid ghost story that would be. On the night of Watsunagashi, Sadako's uncle's corpse was found in a thicket by the road leading to town. Keiichimabara went missing. People would whisper that I'd been demoned away. Fifth year's curse would be a half-baked one. I got off the bike and twisted the accelerator as hard as I could. I let go just when it seemed like it would drag me forward. A fainter splash than I'd imagined. Its surface was being pummeled by the downpour, and the muddy filth was pretty heavy after. And it'd be pulled deeper and deeper until it reached hell itself. Read about Satoshi's bat. I washed the bat with muddy water, and the gore sticking to it came off easily. I had sort of shared today's events with Satoshi, so I wanted to give it a quiet place to stay. That's how I felt. I started to feel more like returning it to the locker from before, so I could continue to keep watch over Sadako.
サトシ、
Satoshi.
俺、多分お前のこと誤解してた。
I probably, well, misunderstood you. Satoshi listened quietly, without nodding. I am absolutely convinced now. You were the one who beat your aunt to death last year and saved Sadako. I always scorned you and called you a coward who ran away. I was wrong. That was something you did for her. And then you disappeared. You finally got back that peace and lost it within days. So I swear to you that I will live life to the fullest from now on. Live it enough for the both of us. I will live on as though this week, this day, never happened. But I'll never forget the short time we shared together for as long as I live. I didn't know what expression Satoshi made as he listened, but as someone who had protected the same girl, I felt he had smiled and given me his blessing. And then, my hand moved of its own accord. And the bat I had hesitated to throw away left my hands and flew through the air. It traveled its parabolic path, spinning all the while, and the swamp absorbed it without a sound. There weren't even any ripples when it hit the surface. The surface was tempestuous because of the downpour, and the bat was long gone. For a moment I regretted having thrown it, but I realized that might have been what Satoshi had wanted.
そうだよな。
You're right.
俺はまだ感傷に浸る余裕なんかないんだよな。
I still can't let myself give in to emotion just yet. I'd return for my shovel, get on my bike, dig a hole to hide the body, and bury it. It seemed like a simple sequence of events, but I felt extremely exhausted and had to do it all night tonight. Do it all tonight. Can't read. Satoshi left me with the only advice that I needed to finish this up soon. Then fell silent for eternity and disappeared at the bottom of the demon's abyss. Please, no cops have found the body. Please. Hidden, sleeping in the brush, I stood it back up for my bike. Shovel was here too. Not good. I was zoning out. Every once in a while, if I let my guard down, my vision would almost go black. Pull yourself together, Kichimabara. It's still not over. I went to the grove of trees and looked for the hole in which I'd hidden the shovel. Unfortunately, I had hidden it deep in the forest, not wanting it to be seen. I know everything was black in the night and I couldn't see anything anymore. I reawakened my fading consciousness and realized just how big this annoyance really was.
おい、マジかよ。
Oh yeah, isn't Ushi patrolling because there's Watanagashi? See, that's what I'm worried about, is he knows that this is a thing and he's gonna be looking. Wait, can't be serious. The sweat the rain washed away before came back up to my skin. Deep, deep in the forest where the streetlights could never reach. The fact that it would be so pitch black had been completely uncalculated. With this much darkness, even if I had been able to kill him right away like I'd planned, I didn't know if I could still have buried him without a problem. What should I do? I simply couldn't find the shovel tonight. If I forced myself to go deep into the forest, I'd lose even my sense of direction and might actually get lost in there. It might have been an exaggeration, but it was fully possible I'd trip over a tree root and sprain a muscle. Alright, how's the storage room? There's another shovel there, the same fold-up kind. Couldn't I go back to the house, get the shovel, and give up on finding the shovel tonight? It's not as though the name Maibara is written on the shovel. But it seemed like an unusual item from an import variety store made in another country, so I didn't want to leave that shovel here. But in this darkness, I couldn't do anything. I should give up and go back to the storage room. And there was an electric lantern in there. If I used that for light, I could look for it. But it was so extremely dark. Could I light the way with just the lantern? The light of a lantern in this dark night. I couldn't discard the possibility of it drawing eyes. And I doubted if I could find the shovel with the lantern's feeble light. Besides, I'd left the body there for a pretty long time already. My sense of fear, dulled through excessive exhaustion, finally reared its ugly head. Anyway, for now. Now the most important thing was to hide the body. A shovel being found wouldn't be a big deal. Corpse? If they found that, I'd share the same fate as Satoshi. First, I'd go back to the storage room at home. Then I'd get the lantern. Now that it's gotten this dark, I might still need light to dig a hole for the body, too. And to get the other shovel. And then I'd deal with the body first thing. Once that was done, I'd come back here, find the shovel, and bring it back. I had to do at least that much. I was so tired. But complaining was getting me nowhere. If I started getting complacent now, everything would have been for naught. At some point, I had sat down. I gritted my teeth and endured, lifting my heavy hips. The night was young. Of all the nights I'd experienced, none had ever been this long. When would it all end? The night was young. Oh man. Oh. The lights at home were dazzlingly bright. Suddenly they reminded me of how hungry I was. I checked the clock and saw that it was almost 7. I thought for sure it was 2 or 3 in the morning already. I was surprised at how messed up my biological clock had gotten just from this one night. There was a warm light going from the curtains in the living room window. The worlds between here and what was beyond those curtains were so different. If only that man hadn't shown up, I would have been in that light. I'd still be excited from the festival. I'd be talking to my parents about how much fun I'd had with all of my friends. And then, even though they'd made a hot meal for me, I would have eaten way too much at the stalls, barely eaten any of it, and gone back to my room. No doubt I'd crawl on my futon and easily let myself fall asleep. But right now, I was completely different. There wasn't a single ember of warmth from those weak streetlights. Right now, I was unconnected to any time spent with my family. There was neither warm food, nor the time to allow myself to sleep. My body exposed to the cold rain, I knew that I simply had to spur myself on to accomplish what I must. I realized how timid, how cowardly I was becoming. For what purpose? I selected the fastest, most fundamental way of saving Sadako, and executed it without hesitation. That man was dead. He was gone. He would never ever hurt Sadako again. We all thought frantically for days on end about Sadako's problem, and finally, with no options, we gave up. I had solved it in one night. By myself, without anyone's help. Right about now, Sadako would be making dinner for her uncle, despite not knowing when he'd return. She might be spending the night trembling in fear of whether he'd yell at her for how it tasted. But her uncle wouldn't come home. She wouldn't have to fear his wrath, nor let him make her feel sad. I see. I did it. I successfully saved Sadako. All I had been thinking about for a long time was killing that man. I'd forgotten the feeling that it was actually all to save her.
そっか。
I did. I did something good. That's right. I did something good, didn't I? I felt hot tears coming from my eyes. And that's when I first realized the exhaustion I'd been feeling was actually guilt. The blade of guilt, for a while now, had just been scraping away with its tip, hurting my heart. It hurt so bad I couldn't stand it. It was throbbing painfully. It hurt so much, it was so painful that I cried. I cried tears of joy at saving Sadako. I didn't know why really anymore. I just cried. My tears fell and fell. As I stood there for a while, coming to terms with those warm tears, my heart was comforted a little. Alright, Kichimabara. It's enough. There's nothing to regret or feel ashamed about. Both my body and mind were thoroughly exhausted, and that was a fact. It was only natural I couldn't feel anything. Even tomorrow, and the day after that, I'm not going to be able to feel anything for a while. But there was one thing that was true. There was the indisputable fact that I'd saved Sadako. One day, we would surely be rewarded. One day, I'd be proud of how distressing an enterprise I had undertaken to get Sadako's smile back. So that I could wait for that day, I had to put the finishing touches on this night. If I left it undone, everything I'd accomplished today would be for naught. I looked back up at the sky, which didn't look like it would stop raining anytime soon. Then, I rubbed my eyes and summoned forth energy from my core again. How long did I plan on spacing out? This isn't the time for daydreaming. Someone could find that corpse this very moment. That pessimistic thought was proof the very natural emotion of fear had returned to me. As I allowed the fear to spur me onwards, I went to look for the other shovel and the lantern inside the storage room. It was fortunate. I remembered what it looked like around the streetlight the body was near. Though dark it was quite possible I wouldn't have been able to look for it either. I didn't realize that when I left the place, so the idea of memorizing the spot hadn't even crossed my mind. That's why I had to call it fortunate that I managed to get back to the body like this. The corpse was now located in a big muddy puddle. Half of the thing had already sunk into the swamp-like pool of water. I only realized afterward. There was an unused irrigation channel right nearby, clogged with fallen leaves and dirt. There was rainwater flowing in from there. My shoes had been awash with water for a long time now, so without any hesitation I stepped into the puddle. The rain was like a blessing from heaven. I checked around me, paying very close attention, then turned off the lantern. became pitch black, but my eyes got used to the darkness in a few moments. And once I managed to reach the street light on the other side, I was able to make out even faint lights. I stuck the shovel into the puddle right next to the corpse. The ground was even looser here than I'd thought, and the shovel's tip easily slid inside it. I had to hurry and dig. If I took too much time, I might lose my energy and strength again. Felt almost like digging a hole in the sand at the beach. It was easy to dig, but no matter what, the muddy water kept flowing in, covering the hole. The digging wasn't going as well as I'd hoped. I dug, and the water would go in. Digging just fine. It's alright, don't be disheartened. Dig, dig, dig. Occasionally a car would come by on the road, and I'd hurry to hide myself in the trees. Everyone was only passing through. They wouldn't have their eyes peeled in this kind of darkness. I understood it logically, but I still couldn't help but hide. What I was really scared of wasn't quite that one of those cars would coincidentally happen to witness me here. It was at the distance I could spot drove through them. I started noticing them less and less, and with the car that just passed by, I didn't notice it until its headlights were upon me. Felt my senses growing duller by the second. If someone were to take a peek in secret as I was burying the body at the worst possible time, maybe I wouldn't even notice. The moment I thought that, I took a good look all around me. I roused all my half-asleep senses and searched for signs of presence nearby. What if I found out someone was spying on me from the trees? A carnivorous feeling snarled at me, glaring. If there was, then I would dig another hole. I'm this far already. In order to achieve perfection, I didn't care how much more I had to pay. I didn't know what kind of face I was making at the time, but it was definitely a fervently glaring one. It was deep enough for it to go up to my knees. Maybe this was enough. Maybe I threw the corpse in as a test. I swallow, getting my breathing under control. Despite how much I'd beaten him, I was afraid of touching the corpse. So instead, I dragged it by the feet to the hole. It took more than just a waggle and a tug to do it. Of course it did. Considering this man's weight, it was easily 80 kilograms. I rallied all my strength and dragged him. At this point, my groundless fears that he might start suddenly moving again had vanished long ago. His body fit perfectly into the muddy hole. It was more than deep enough. Alright, let's bury him. Quickly, quickly, quickly. If I did a perfect job of burying it here, everything would be over. I would hide it in the hole, and none of this would have ever happened. When I realized I only had a little farther to go to finish everything, I was racked with pointless anxiety. I was in a race against time. It was like I was absorbed in the delusion that if I didn't bury the body quickly, it might come back to life. In any case, in a great rush, I poured mud and dirt into the hole. It didn't work efficiently, someone might find me here. Until now, I figured if someone saw, I'd just kill them. But not anymore. I was arrested with such absolute fear that if someone saw me, it would all be over. As I finished the work off, it was a total mess. Splish splash, splish splash. I drew the surface of the shovel across the ground, trying to make it flat. I was completely covered in mud at that point. The rain washed the mud off my body, but not off my now blackened clothing. My body and mind were caked with panic, with fear, with rain and sweat and mud. My shoulders heaving, I threw down the shovel and sat down in the mud. I was so exhausted that I wanted to lie down right here and sleep. It was over. This time. For real. It was over. The man was now in the bottom of the wet dirt. Right at this moment, there were traces this place had been dug up. The rain and flowing muddy water completely covered it all within moments. Yes, it was over.
やったやったぞクソったれ
I did it. I did it. I did it, you motherfucker. And then I fell over backwards, face up in the mud. Raindrops pelted my face without mercy. They didn't care. After staying there for a while, resting my mind, I got up again. It was over. So let's go home. You already buried the whole thing. So now it's like it never happened. It never happened. So there's no reason for me to stay out here, get rained on. I wobbled to my feet. I wouldn't use this shovel anymore. I considered disassembling it, but I didn't have the strength in my absolute exhaustion. I didn't really need to take it apart anyway. Dragging the shovel behind me, I headed towards the light. I stood on my bike. It had been laying in the grass by the road. I didn't know how I was going to get the still assembled shovel into the front basket. I put the shovel down the back of my shirt like I'd done with the baseball bat. Oh man, come on, you gotta just fold that thing. That's gonna look conspicuous. Unlike the bat, the corner of it was on my back, making it very painful. Plus, if I relaxed my posture even a little, it would fall out behind me. I ended up having to carry the shovel in my left hand and ride my bike using only my right hand. Not only was I in a state of total exhaustion, this was a downpour. One hand on the handlebars. I was swaying to and fro like a drunk. I didn't care. Even swaying like this, I got a little closer to home every time I pedaled. I saw two lights swaying slowly in front of me. A car was approaching. Oh no, I need to get out of the way. From far away in the shadows of the darkness, a car appeared. Its dazzling lights washed over me. The driver made a short honk of the horn to inform me I was in the middle of the road. I have to get out of the way. I kept telling myself that, but not only was I riding one-handed, I was exhausted so I couldn't do anything. Wobble, 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 wobble. I meandered about, not going to the right or to the left. The driver decided to swerve out of the way right in front of me. Without lowering its speed much, steadily came towards me. It Its outline grew larger in my vision, and telling myself again that I really needed to get out of the way. I jerked the handlebars in one direction, then lost my balance and fell over, bike and all. My whole body splayed out and one foot got caught in the bike. This was seriously bad. My drowsiness quickly vanished, and just as a cold sweat broke out on my skin, the driver recklessly spun the wheel to the left, made a counterclockwise U-turn, came right up to me and stopped. The driver's seat door opened, and the driver came out. You idiot, what are you doing here? I was pretty sure someone would yell at me like that.
あらあら。
Oh. What are you doing? Oh my.
誰かと思えば。
Look who it is. It was a woman's voice, one I knew. I lifted my face off the ground and looked at her.
高野さん。
こんばんは。
Good evening.
月の綺麗な夜ね。
Takano-san unfolded an umbrella and smiled as she spoke. That smile was for some reason uncanny, like she'd seen right through me. Out of all the people I could have met, I got the sudden feeling that this was the one I wanted to see the least. No, I think Uishi would be worse.
こんな時間にどうしたのかしら。
What are you doing out so late?
傘もささずに全身ずぶ濡れの泥まみれで。
You're soaked and covered in mud and no umbrella either.
それは何？
What is that?
シャベル？
A shovel? She'd come here via car. She knew everything. Calm down, Kichimabara. She always makes that mysterious-looking smile, remember? Don't let her on to anything, unless you dig your own grave.
噂じゃあなた、ゴルフクラブで野球に参加したそうだけど。
Rumors say you're playing baseball with a golf club.
そのシャベルも、つまりはそういうこと？
Is that what the shovel's for, too?
傘の代わりってわけかしら？
You're using it as an umbrella? Yeah! I should tell a good lie here. If I could just do that, things would work out.
レナと宝探しにダム現場に行った時に。
Hmm.
それをこの土砂降りの中、取りに行ったわけ？
And you went to get in this downpour?
家を出た時は降るとは思いませんでしたので。
When I left my house, I didn't think it would rain, so...
あら、降り出したのは結構前よ。
Oh, it's been raining for a while, though.
あなたずいぶん前から表にいるのね。
Been up for quite some time.
それにしたって。
Even so.
あなた、向こうからこっちに向かってきたんでしょ？
Came from that direction, didn't you?
ダムとは場所も方向も正反対よ。
The dam is in the opposite direction, you know. Please leave me alone! Please leave me alone! Takano-san was clearly aware that something exceedingly abnormal was happening with me. And as she played her little word game, she was enjoying driving me into a corner. Maybe she had a vague guess, just from the situation, of what I'd been doing. We are so fucked! No, this is not good! My timing really sucked. Run into her of all people of all times. At the very end, I could only be frustrated at my terrible luck. I'd done so much, and the end was literally right around the corner. So why? Why at the very, very end did I run into her of all people? You do, Keiichi Maibara. You're still holding something that could be a dangerous weapon. Will you silence Takano-san? No, 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 no! No, please, please, please! Even if it would be simple to kill Takano-san, living with a car she'd come in afterward would be an issue. Couldn't drive a car. It's really different from a motorbike. But even if the car was here, as long as there was no proof I killed her... Yes, tonight's downpour, without any prior planning, all by coincidence. A hit and run. As long as I didn't drop any handkerchiefs with my initials on them, they would never know I killed her. Oh man, no. Please stop. Please stop. Just fucking tell her you got lost, you got turned around in the dark, and you didn't know you were going the wrong way. The black flame quietly smoldered and raged in the core of my body.
怖い顔
That's a scary look.
いじめすぎちゃったかしら
Did I tease you too much? Takano-san started to laugh by herself, and thankfully stopped talking about it. The dark clouds in my mind didn't go away.
それはそうと
Leaving that aside,
いつまで自転車にまたがったまま地面に這いつくばってるつもり
how long are you planning on crawling on the ground with your bike like that?
そろそろどいてくれるかしら
Would you mind moving out of the way? If I moved, she would leave. So I tried to get the bicycle up and out of the way, and twisted my ankle in it and fell over. Ow, shit! Ah! There was a sharp pain in the ankle I'd twisted. This is nonsense. Sprained ankle now?
あら大丈夫
Oh my, are you alright?
ひょっとしてひねっちゃった
Did you twist your ankle? Takano-san squats down and takes a good look at the ankle I keep rubbing. She compares it to my facial expression, apparently trying to gauge how bad the wound was.
立てる
Can you stand? I didn't expect to, but I couldn't even stand up. It was all I could do to shamelessly wriggle on the ground like a caterpillar. Takano-san looked at her watch, then at her car, and after thinking for a moment, opened the passenger seat door. And then gave me her shoulder to stand up with.
家まで送るわ
I'll take you home.
なんだか私が跳ねたみたいで嫌な気持ちだけどね
I do feel bad since it's almost like I hit you.
すみません
I'm sorry.
見捨てるのも気の毒だし
I wouldn't just leave you there.
私が優しい人でよかったわね
It's a good thing I'm a nice person. You're so creepy. Nobody good has ever called themselves a nice person. That would have been a terrible thing to say to someone holding me up like this. Takano-san went around the back and looked at my bike on the ground.
自転車は後日ってことにはならない
I don't suppose we could take the bicycle home tomorrow. I could clearly tell from her face that she thought it would be a pain, since it would be heavy and it would get her car dirty. But my bike has the name of my bar written on it. Couldn't leave it out here like this.
なんとか車に詰めませんか
Well, can you somehow put it in the car?
ないと困るんで
Sorta need it.
トランクはもういっぱいなの
Trunk is already full.
後部座席なんかに積んだらシートが泥で汚れちゃうわ
I put it in the back seat, it'll get the seats dirty with mud.
まああなたを乗せた時点でもう十分に汚れてるんだけれども
Well, given how you're already in here, it's already dirty, I suppose. I turn back to the back seat and see someone's folding bicycle there already. It still looked big enough to fit my bike in there as well. My expression reflected my thoughts, and the exact thought seemed to get through to her.
わかったわわかったわ。
Alright, alright.
積んであげる。
I'll put it in here for you.
今夜だけはお姉さんも優しくしてあげるわ。
I'll be really nice, but just for tonight, okay? Takano-san continued with her mean jokes, but she hoisted my bike and loaded it into the back seat for me. Takano, you know, I really don't have anything I can say about you other than you are creepy. Wait, why does she have Tomatake's bike? He's waiting for her somewhere, or... No, I'm gonna comment on that she's like, oh, my trunk is full. Full with what? You got some in there? I'm just saying, you're creepy as shit. The mean jokes were one thing. Couldn't she do something about that eerie smile of hers? And even more importantly than the bike, I didn't want to leave the shovel here. The shovel could be directly connected to the buried body and to me.
ついでで申し訳ないんですけど、シャベルもお願いしていいですか？
Sorry to ask another favor, but could you get my shovel too? Takano-san gave me a clearly dubious expression.
シャベル？
Your shovel?
別にいいけど。
That's fine with me.
大事なもの？
Is it important? The more I talk, the worse it gets for me. That's how I felt, so I didn't force myself to answer her. Eventually, outlasted by my silence, Takano-san gave a short shrug and sighed.
はいはいわかったわ。
Alright, I understand.
僕はシャベルがないと困っちゃうんでしょ？
You need your shovel, right?
そんな怖い目しなくてもいいわよ。
You need to make such a mean face. Takano-san brought over the shovel that was lying in the middle of the road. I clutched it like I'd never let go of it again. Takano-san watched me with a puzzled look.
じゃあ行くわよ。
Okay, let's be off.
前原くんのお家ってあの前原屋敷でいいんでしょ？
Maibara-kun, you live at the Maibara mansion, don't you?
なんでみんなうちのことを前原屋敷って呼ぶんですか？
Why does everyone call my house the Maibara mansion?
だって現にお屋敷じゃない。
Because it's actually a mansion.
お金持ちが羨ましい
Must be nice to be rich. As she spoke, Takano-san pulled the handbrake and stepped on the gas. After making a skillful U-turn using the shoulder of the road, she steadily increased in speed. From the rearview mirror, that accursed place seemed to melt into the darkness.
わ。誰って？
Huh?
すみません。よく聞こえませんでした。
I'm sorry, I didn't quite hear you.
今なんて？
What was that? Takano-san suddenly tried to say something to me, but thoughtlessly I didn't catch it. Looking ahead, Takano-san said the same thing once more time.
死体。
The body.
上手に埋められた？
How well was it buried? Oh! You're fucking with me, right? You're messing with me? You're joking. I thought my heart might beat out of my chest, but I didn't let it show. But my lungs were squeezed tight, and I couldn't breathe.
何を言ってるんですか？
What are you talking about?
こういう山奥に死体を埋めるときはね、
When burying bodies in mountains like
結
these,
構深く掘らないと野犬とかが匂いを嗅ぎつけて掘り返しちゃうことも多いのよ。
you have to bury it fairly deep, because wild dogs will often smell the corpse and dig it out.
野犬が加えてた人骨で事件が発覚。警察一帯を山狩りへなんて結構ないことじゃないのよ。
Some human bone a wild dog brings back in its mouth leads to an incident being uncovered. The police head out to a stretch of mountains, Actually happens pretty often, you know. Please shut up. Just take me home. Pound, pound, clang, clang. Huge rusted bell started ringing in my head. I buried it so deep that I could say it absolutely wouldn't be found. The answer was no. I was in such a rush to bury him and get it over with. I couldn't deny having possibly buried it too close to the surface. No, wait. That's not... Wait, anyway. So this woman, how does she know? She just passed by here in her car by coincidence. We ran into each other by coincidence. She'd been watching the entire thing from the trees. And once I left, she came back in her car? Didn't make logical sense. So then why... Kichimibara. That's it. We need to kill her. My entire body reawakened, and I could feel my pupils dilate. I couldn't possibly beat her to death with the shovel in such a small car. Then, I would use my hands and strangle her. But she was driving right now. If I strangled her, we might get into an accident. Then, suddenly, Takano-san turned and looked at me.
ボケもツッコミもなし
What? No witty retort? For a moment I was surprised. What was she talking about?
私たちあんまり相性は良くないみたいね
It would seem we're not a very good match. Takano-san said, disappointed, returning her gaze ahead. I repeated the words she'd said a few times in my head, and finally realized she'd meant it as an off-color joke. I didn't know whether it was really a joke, but I wouldn't be able to fool her no matter how many lies I told. Right now, with her driving the car like this, I couldn't kill her. I would have an even harder time doing it when we got back to my house. That moment we met, that had been my best chance. And to have missed it so easily, it hurt. After that, Takano-san didn't say a single word. The car was completely buried in an almost suffocating silence. What kind of woman had I run into? With everything that happened today, I managed to pull it off. At the very end of it all, I just had to go home and go back to sleep. What bad luck. As my sleepiness gradually overtook me, the anxiety I felt steadily started to matter less and less. Is this all right, Kichimibara? Probably should not leave this woman alive. Right now, I'm tired. She stepped on the brakes and I jerked against my seatbelt. That woke me up. Thought I must have fallen asleep by accident. I looked out the window and there was a big building with faint lights on. It was really dark out, but I knew immediately it was my house.
今ご家族を呼んでくるわね
I'll go get your folks for you.
少しの間だけど一人でお留守番できるかしら
Would you mind the place for a few moments while I'm gone? You're so creepy.
バカにしないでください
Don't make fun of me, please.
それにほら
Besides, look,
もう大丈夫です
I'm fine now.
一人で歩けますから
I can walk by myself.
あらあら
Oh my.
さっきは痛そうな顔して肩まで借りたのに
You were in such pain before that you had to get me to carry you.
ひょっとして お姉さんに甘えてみたかったから？
You just want a pretty lady to be nice to you. You gotta back off, okay? You keep giving me weird vibes. I'm like, I think 14. As Takano-san spoke, she left the car and opened up her umbrella. The sound of falling raindrops was fierce as always. Tomitake's in that damn car trunk. I carefully reached down and rubbed the ankle I'd twisted. There was still some pain and a little weirdness, but they weren't that bad anymore. Rather than being happy about how light the wound was, I first regretted this whole thing. I hadn't twisted my ankle. Could have still taken the option of killing Takano-san right then and there. No, bud, you can't be... You got the one. That's all you needed. There probably wasn't much doubt. Takano-san was convinced I was involved in some sort of crime. She knew about everything happening with Sadako, and she might have even guessed I'd killed somebody. Click. Takano-san opened the passenger side door for me.
本当に肩は必要ないかしら？
You sure you don't need my shoulders?
もう一回だけ甘えてもいいのよ。
I wouldn't mind doing it for you again. Stop giggling! Stop it! I ignored her and answered by getting out of the car by myself. The rain was still pretty intense. I got my bicycle out of the back seat. I was a bit curious who the other bike belonged to, but that didn't matter right now. I let Takano-san hold the umbrella over me, then pushed my bicycle up to the front door.
ありがとうございます。
Thank you very much.
もうここまでで大丈夫です。
I'll be fine now. My ankle hurt so much earlier. It still did. It aggravated me that it hadn't even been that bad. It was really seriously terrible luck.
じゃあ、私はこれで失礼するわね。
Alright, I'll be leaving then.
前原くんと二人きりで夜のドライブだったなんて、みんなには内緒よ。
Keep it a secret that we had a nice evening drive together by ourselves, okay?
特に二郎さんにはね。
Especially from Jiro-san. Jiro-san? Oh, she meant Tomitake-san. I suppose she called him by his first name. His full name must be Jiro Tomitake, then. And then the other bike, the folding one in the back seat that I didn't care about at first, suddenly came to mind. Hey, excuse me, you're from Himizawa, right? On the day before yesterday, as I walked near the dam half asleep, Tomitake-san had talked to me. And the bicycle he'd been riding, it was...
あの後ろに積んであった自転車、富武さんのですよね。
Hey, she shut up. She's definitely killed someone, and you should just be quiet, go inside, wash up, eat dinner, go to bed. Don't provoke her, because she definitely has killed someone. That bicycle in the back belongs to Tomitake-san, doesn't it? Takano-san's eyes, I think they sharpened for a moment.
どうしてそう思うのかしら？
Why do you think that?
以前に会った時見てますから。
I saw it when I met him before.
フレームも特徴的でしたし。
The frame stood out to me.
ふーん。 でも、おかしくないかしら。
But wouldn't that be odd?
この自転車が二郎さんのものだなんてこと、ありえると思う？
You think it's possible for this to be Jiro-san's bike?
おかしいって。
Odd. Huh? Takano-san, her hair elegantly fluttering, peers into my eyes.
だっ 。
Well,
ひなみ沢には民宿なんてないのよ。
there are no bed and breakfast in Himizawa, are there?
なら二郎さんは町に泊まっていることになるわよね。
Jiro-san would need to be staying in town.
そうなんですか？
Is that so?
まあそうならそうなんじゃないですか？
Well, I guess that's right, huh?
町からひなみ沢まではとても歩いてなんか行き来できないわよね。
You can't really walk from town to Hinamizawa, can you?
バスだって走ってないし、
And there are no buses either.
せめて自転車くらいはなきゃね。
You at least need a bicycle. She didn't need to tell me that. That's why Jiro-san was riding a bike.
その二郎さんの自転車が私の車に積んであって、
For Jiro-san's bicycle to be stowed in my car.
二郎さんは私の車に乗っていないならおかしいじゃない。
And him not in there. That would be strange, wouldn't it? Oh, she killed him. He's in that trunk.
二郎さんはひなみ沢で自転車なしってことになっちゃうわよ。
It would mean Jiro-san was in Hinamizawa without a bike.
二郎さんを放っておいて自転車だけが私の車に積んであるなんてね。
I have to have left Jiro-san somewhere and put his bike in the car, wouldn't I? Oh, he could also be buried somewhere.
ありえないでしょ。
It wouldn't make sense. As she spoke, Takano-san made eyes like a hawk. Fortunately, I didn't really understand what was so odd.
それの何がおかしいんですか？
What about that is odd?
高野さんは富武さんとは仲がいいんですよね。
Aren't you and Tomitake-san friends?
何かのようで自転車を積んであげたって別におかしいことだとは思わないですけれど。
I don't really think it'd be strange for there to be some reason you had his bicycle in your car.
そうじゃないでしょ。
But it would be.
つまりこのひなみ沢において二郎さんとその自転車がバラバラに存在することはありえないということなのよ。
What I mean is, Jiro-san and his bicycle being in different places in Hinamizawa wouldn't make sense.
以上の理由からこの自転車が二郎さんのものであるわけがない。
And for those reasons, it means this bicycle can't be his.
理解できたかしら？
You understand now? Takano-san's roundabout way of talking was hard to comprehend. That eeriness I could feel, that vague dreadfulness. I didn't like it at all. But the most wild, instinctive part of me warned me not to pry.
あれは私の自転車なのよ。
That's my bicycle.
二郎さんに選んでもらったからセンスが似てるのは間違いないけれどね。
Jiro-san picked it out for me, though, so I can't deny that it looks alike. You are such a liar. You are lying.
あ、そうだったんですか。
Ah, I see now.
道理で似てるとは。
I thought it looked similar.
私とあなたは今夜出会わなかった。
You and I never saw each other tonight. Yes, boss! Yeah, you got it, boss! Oh, yeah, I want that CG. Thank you. That's going for the thumbnail. He's killed someone. Now she was talking about something completely different.
何を言ってるんですか？
What are you talking about?
私とあなたは今夜出会わなかった。
You and I never saw each other tonight. I stayed there not knowing what to say, and Takano-san repeated her eerie, succinct phrase to me again.
私とあなたは今夜
You and I never
出会
met
わな
this
かっ
night.
た。私とあなたは
You and I
出会わなかっ
never saw each other tonight. Something cold and unpleasant crawled up my spine. I knew, because I'd killed a person with my own hands before. Before, I came to the conclusion that I only had one chance to beat this woman to death to keep her quiet. I couldn't hesitate, so I could tell she'd arrived at the very same conclusion. My instincts warned me again. I wish I'd never met this woman. The faint scents, like a rotten smell, drifting from this woman, There's no doubt the exact same sense that I was giving off right now. The very peculiar aspiration, lack of uncertainty of taking a human's life for a purpose. One that only those who have risen above everything had. Actually, maybe I should have called it a nausea. It meant I didn't know how to explain this very well. Takano-san was the same as me. In other words, someone who shouldn't have been here. Someone I couldn't have let anybody know was here. Someone who nobody would have wanted to see. And, now that we had, we could calmly pretend as though we'd never met. Yes. Which meant that just like I wanted it to have nothing else to do with her, she didn't want anything to do with me either. And she too wanted to make it so that we'd never met. Both of us wished for the same thing. Our desires were the same, which meant Takano-san's suggestion was extremely practical. And that I couldn't outright refuse.
それでいいならそういうことでもいいです。
If that's fine with you, then sure, whatever.
俺と高野さんは今夜出会わなかった。
You and I didn't meet this night.
そうよね。
You're right.
あなたにとってもその方がいいでしょうから。
That'd be best for you too, wouldn't it?
どうしてそう思うんですか？
Why do you think that?
いちいちうるさいわね。
Are you seriously asking me that?
それくらい自分で考えられないの、坊や。
You can't figure that out on your own, boy? Okay, I'm good. I'm good. Look, we really gotta stop asking questions. And we just gotta go home and, wash up in the shower, put the muddy clothes in the washer, and then we're gonna get us some dinner, and then we're gonna lie down in bed, and we're gonna call it a day. And we're gonna spend our happy, happy days with our sister Sadako. And we're gonna pretend none of this ever happened. She cut me off with the condescending word boy. Right in front of my house, a place most unsuited to killing. And yet, there's a frozen thirst for blood coming from both of us. I would be killed right here, right now. Yeah, then I should have definitely beaten her as we passed each other. A damp, greasy sweat, you can come any time. When I made up my mind, she shook her hair elegantly and turned on her heel. What was good? How? Because she was a kind person? Was that it? I didn't get it. Takano-san got into her car. We didn't exchange any words of parting. I performed a massive feat, killing of Sadako's uncle, yet I didn't feel any accomplishment. On the holy night of Oyashiro-sama's curse, in which the taking of another's life was allowed, on the terribly rainy night when the demons wandered, as agents of Oyashiro-sama's will, the demons were never supposed to meet. Suddenly, they did. The demons parted ways triumphantly. There was no reason for them to fight. Both their objectives had already been accomplished. With the rain hitting me like a waterfall, my eyes met with Takano-san's through the car window. The female demon, her mouth twisted into a distorted, fearless smile. It was too late to kill her. Far too late. That first moment, the very first moment we saw each other, had been my best chance. And now that we had parted like this, I was acutely aware of it. I should not have let her live. She beeped her horn quickly, then her car drove away into the deluge. The one woman who knew what really happened tonight disappeared into the dark. As long as she was alive, this night would never really end. Just get into an accident, I thought to myself. In this downpour, slip on some mud or something, and fly face first into a tree and die. That wasn't a delusion, a wild flight of fantasy. It was an earnest wish. Yes, it was a command. Die. Die! Keep your mouth shut for eternity. Because I have no doubt you're wishing for me to die all the same. My curse upon her faded emptily as Takano-san's taillights disappeared into the outer darkness. Her car's lights were completely out of sight now. Even the sound of the engine faded into the sound of the heavy rain and was inaudible now. I too turned on my heel. Draw the curtains on this insane night. Open my front door and end it all. I began walking towards the front door. I was covered in mud and I made a squishing sound with every step I took. Squish. Squish. Don't worry, Keiichi Maibara. Squish. Squish. She'll die. Squish. Squish. Her end will be as miserable as she is. I'll throw her into some flames alive and let her dance until she's burned to a crisp. I'll burn her to ashes in the fires of hell itself until she's roasted as much as she deserves.
そう願うぜ
I wish.
本気でな
Really do. Squish. Huh? Just now, I had taken a step. And yet, footstep. Oh, come on, bruh. Without emotion, I turned around. There was a footprint that wasn't my own, and it was obvious someone else was behind me. Somebody else there? I'm sick of this. Whoever it was, I was sick of everything tonight. This time I would kill them. Kill them without a second thought. I wouldn't hesitate to turn around and dig another hole. I wasn't going to have to kill any more people tonight. This night, I couldn't handle any more of it. Even if I heard an extra footstep each time I stopped, I put it down to me just being tired. This has happened before. Oh, we're gonna do it like that. Yeah, all right. Hee-wee. Get the hell out of here. No, I'm done. Oh my god. Oh my god. Okay, we got a lot of, I think a lot of thinking to do. Let's view these tips, huh? Fire from hell.
Hello,
Hello, do you need the hospital or the fire department?
消防です。
The fire department.
火事ですか事故ですか落ち着いて話してください
Is there a fire or some other accident? Please speak slowly and calmly.
多分火事だと思います。こちらは中部高速の柿内サービスエリアなんですけどね。裏の山からなんだかすっごい火と煙が上がってるのが見えるんですよ。
I think it's a fire. This is the blank rest area on the blank highway. You can see a ton of fire and smoke coming from the mountains behind us.
あんなところ誰も立ち入らないからなんで火がついてるのかよくわかんないですけど、とにかく連絡した方がいいと思って。
Oh, that's funny. Nobody goes back there, so I don't know why anything got lit on fire. Anyway, I figured I should let you know. You're funny, game. You're funny.
山火事にならないとも限らないし。
It could turn to a forest fire.
わかりました。すぐに現場を確認しますので、そちら様のお名前と、すぐに連絡のつく電話番号、それから、
Location of the fire. Notice from the fire department headquarters. We have a report of a suspicious fire on the western slopes of the blank mountain.
街道から離れていることから、カップルの焚き火か不法投棄のゴミに放火したかの可能性があります。
Given its distance from the road, it could be a couple's bonfire or someone unlawfully burning trash.
現場は深い森林地帯。周辺に民家はないが、延焼の可能性あり。
The location is deep in the woods. No homes in the area, but the fire could spread.
直ちに現場を確認されたし。
Immediately go to the site to verify.
消防署ですか。こちらは G ブロック第3消防分隊です。
Is this the fire station? This is the blank district fire department branch.
通報の現場にさっき到着。
We arrived moments ago at the reported area.
ドラム缶が一つ山中に放棄され、炎上しているのを確認しました。
Last stream you said you got what Ryukishi-san was putting down this chapter, and I think that got you his wrath. Yeah, well.
火は鎮火しつつあり、延焼の可能性はなし。
The fire is calming, and there's no chance it will spread.
で、ドラム缶の中に多分人じゃないかと思うんです。人らしきものが灯油か何かで焼かれたという感じで。
And, well, in the oil drum, I think it might be a person. Like a person burned with kerosene or something.
警察の人にも連絡した方がいいんじゃないかと思いまして。
Well, I think maybe we should get the police over here.
間違いねえよ。
There's no mistaking it.
これ人だよ。
This is a person. Yeah, I about expected that. You're funny, Ryukishi-07. Go to hell. Yeah, I thought I know that street. I
今
know,
年のたたりってことっすかね。
I know this street.
ますが、今年
自分で自分の喉をかき破るなんて普通じゃないっす。
Blowing out your own throat. That isn't normal.
あとは鑑識のじい様に任せましょう。きっと何かの怪しげな薬物を検出してくれるに違いありません。
Let's leave the rest to the old man in forensics. I'm sure he'll find some suspicious drugs.
お疲れ様です。お疲れ様です。
Thank you. Thank you for your hard work.
あ、おいさん、小宮山さんたちが到着しました。
Oh, Uishi-san. Komiyama-san and the others have arrived.
大石さん、お疲れ様です。今年は一等来てるのが出たらしいじゃないですか。
Uishi-san, much appreciated. Well, it seems we have a pretty crazy one this year.
裏をかかれました。
Yes, we've been outsmarted.
私はてっきり今夜死ぬのは北条哲平だとばかり思ってたんですがね。
I was absolutely under the impression Teppei Hojo would get killed tonight. He doesn't know yet.
仏は何者です？
Who's the deceased?
富武二郎。年に何回かひなみ沢に来てる趣味の写真家さんです。
Jiro Tomitake, a photographer with a hobby for coming to Hinamizawa a few times a year.
ノーマークだったな。
We didn't even have him marked.
どうなんでしょうね。北条宅にずっと張り付いてたのがバレて、ターゲットを変更したとか。
I wonder what happened. Did they realize we were watching the Hojo residence the whole time and decided to switch their target?
かなぁ。恨めったな。
Maybe. We sure flubbed this one.
で、
出かけて、その少し後にバイクで出かけ、
Motorbike.
先に娘が帰ってきて、あれ
His daughter came back first. Wait,
まだ帰ってないかな
did he not come back yet? Ushi-san, are you there? Call from Chief Takusugi.
1号車の無線にお願いします。
He's on the line in car 1. We out of here. Woo! Hee-hee-hoo-hoo-hee-ha-ha. Ooh, what a time. What a time, what a time. Fuck me. Get out! Shit, that was eventful. Nice chapter. It sure was. It sure was. Wowee. Man, what do you even say about all this? I think we gotta theorize again. We're doing a post-stream theorizing sesh. I got our Little Big Planet music going. Okay. Here's what I'm gonna do. I'm pulling MS Paint up, and we're doing a whole fucking Always Sunny Pepe Sylvia bit. Like, we're doing red string on the cork board. Theorizing. Okay? So let me just capture my window. We're not capturing paint. Ah, whatever. I'll capture my whole screen. Okay. Let's get theorizing, gang. Actually, wait. We need different music. What's good theorizing music? I need a good song or like playlist. I need detective music. There we go. No. We need this. I know the music before was good because it was Little Big Planet, but I think we need to be theorizing. Okay. First of all, this is blindingly bright, so let's make it black. Let's list all of the components, okay? First of all, we got Keiichi. That's how you spell his name, yeah? It's an ugly font. Yeah. Okay. So, Keiichi. We're gonna put Sadako. We're gonna put Rika. Mion. What's this song's name? I don't know in particular. I just pulled. I went onto YouTube and I googled detective music, and it's just a play. I think it's just a video. Yeah. So I don't know. Rena. Okay. So this is the main gang, okay? Then we need to acknowledge other characters. We got Shion, who we're going to attach. Hang on. They are sisters. Okay. So let's see. Friends with Rena. They're friends. It's gonna be a complicated graph, but it's gonna be worth it. No, this isn't gonna work. I don't have lines crossing over each other. Okay, we're not gonna do friendships. Because we know. Satoshi should probably be up here. Yes. Well, we need lots of names. Satoshi. Oh, he's thinner. Uishi. Okay, and we also need Takano and Tomitake. Okay. There are other characters, but we gotta work off of this, okay? So, let's list some important things. Important facts. Number 1. Takano definitely killed someone or did something really bad in general. I lean towards killed someone. Okay. Tomitake died his usual way. Claude wrote out on random street. Not confirmed, but Takano seems to have died her past way. Burned in oil drum. That says from drum. We're running out of room here. We gotta shrink the type. Yeah, okay. Okay, number 4. Takano originally, now this is important, originally went missing in chapter 1. Why was the oil drum with her burnt body not found back then? Because that's something that's tripping me up, is that she went missing in chapter 1, right? Like, they never found her body. She, like, with the Oishiro-sama's curse, they say the pattern is one person dies, one person disappears. Tomitake, they always find him. They did not find Takano's body in chapter 1. Okay. Number 5. Characters with the creepy eye sprites. Because that's happened a few times. We've only seen it with Rena, Mion. We saw it just now with Takano. And I believe it's happened to Keiichi. Because there was some dialogue about that. We can't see Keiichi's face because we don't get to see that. But I remember comments about his eyes. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna put that down. Who are victims each chapter? No, what I need to do is past Watanagashi. Victims. Year 1. Who was year 1? It was just members of a construction crew, right? Was it anyone important? Construction crew for the dam. And then year 2. Was it... Because there's the one missing, one dead. Were they both construction workers that got... That like, was there one missing worker, one dead worker? Year 2. What was year 2? Because year 5 is the one we are on, that we lived through. Uishi's friend? Uishi's friend? Who? I forget things. If you didn't know, we took like a 9-month break between last times we'd played Higurashi and now, so I've forgotten some things, even from Chapter 3. Yeah. Okay. Sadako's aunt dead. Satoshi missing. Which year was because were Rika's parents year 2 or year 3? Fuck. We'll come back. Now here's the deal. Now we're gonna list victims. Keep misspelling victims. Each chapter. Chapter 1. It is Tomitake. That's not how you spell it. Tomitake and Takano. That's how you spell it, yeah? Watanashi. Year 2 of Sadako's parents? Okay, I'll put that in a sec. And then Rena and Mion killed by Keiichi. And then Keiichi himself claws wrote out while calling Uishi. Okay, Chapter 2. The victims are Tomitake and Takano at the Watanagashi again. But then Rena makes it out clean of that chapter, actually. And it is Sadako and Rika killed by Mion. Shion dies. Doesn't she fell from balcony? Isn't that a thing? Wasn't that what happened? Doesn't Mion die? How did Mion die? Hmm. How did Mion die? I forgot. I'll come back to that. Year 2, though, we know. Year 2 is Sadako's parents. And then Rika's parents are next. But how did Mion die? Okay. Chapter 3. That's what we're on. So, we can't go far with this. But Omitake and Akino. I'm gonna put a question mark by her name because not confirmed. Watanagashi. Pepe. Ojo. Killed by Heichi. Damn. Oh yeah, Mion's grandma and the mayor also died. Fuck, yeah, no, they did. Was the mayor Watanagashi death? Did he go missing? I don't remember. Fucking everyone died, chapter 2. Chapter 2, fuck. The mayor. Mion's grandma. Now, the mayor, he was a... God, the well. The mayor, did he go missing on the Watanagashi? I don't know how much it matters, but... See, chapters 1 and 2 were so long ago for me. Okay, let's look back at our important facts. So, we really gotta talk about Takano. Because what's her fucking deal? Because I don't think we can brush her off, okay? Certainly not. When she definitely... I feel strongly that she killed Tomitake. Because she was like, no, why would I have his bike? Wouldn't that be weird? Wouldn't it be weird if he was not with me and I had his bike? She has his bike because she killed him. They said that she was dead before the Watanagashi, even though we saw her last chapter. Yeah. Yeah, so let me write that. 6. Takano was apparently already dead before the Watanagashi in chapter 2. Even though several people were with her there. Because it wasn't just Keiichi. We can't chalk it up to just, I feel, hallucination. Because, like, Shion was there? Tomitake was there? Mion too? Wait, really? Like, Mion was dead before the, Watanagashi? I don't remember that. Mion was dead before the attack. Keiichi was given the dodge. Yeah, that's right. That's right. I think I misspelled Keiichi's name. My bad. Let's get another fact in. Number 8, and I believe this is right. Possessed, question mark. Rena and Mion try to inject Keiichi with something, and they reference some director. Okay. Okay. Let me get my thread out again. And let me, you know what? I'm gonna get up my drawing tablet so I can draw on this properly. So I'm not just using my mouse for this. That's my Discord. Okay. We're taking many notes. We gotta break it all down, man. I say we. You two seem to already know the game, so... Oh, that zoom doesn't work. I have to do it through here. Okay. So let's talk. Always. Claws. Wrote. Out. On. Watanabe. Or when Rena was saying, I'm sorry over and over again after you smashed your fingers. Yes, this is true too. Okay. That's not how you spell disappeared, is it? It's with 2 P's. Disappeared. A lot like KG. Yeah, no, there was some crazy shit happening in Chapter 1. Now let's talk about Rika. Knows more than she says. I'm confident in that. She knows something. Uishi. Can't get a grasp of this guy. Probably. Tomitake. We know Rena has mental health issues, but she also does get seemingly possessed at times. She's the only one to survive Chapter 2. Which is... I don't know how significant that is. Okay. What else do we know? Yeah, she had that outburst at her school. Cyrus pencil for the dam. Yes. Okay. This guy trips me up. I won't lie to you. YouTube app is being weird. Curious. Okay. Let's think here. Let's think. Think of everything we've seen. There's that random body at the start of Chapter 3. What else was there? Okay. Let's... There's a white van that seemingly tries to run over Keiichi in Chapter 1. That's also true. Okay. We also need to address the elephant in the room. That thing right there. Oops. Made my pen really big. Because my scroll wheel does not actually scroll. It changes the pen size in Paint. Okay. Let's make a speculative timeline. So let's see here. So we need to go back. So Oniga Uchi Village. That's just gonna be our starting point. Nothing to write back there. Let's zoom forward to dam construction. Town is divided. Let's see here. Sonozaki's lead charge against the dam. Then workers killed. This is the first of the years of the curse. And I believe after that, dam is paused. Let me write Ojo's support. Damn. Next. What happens next? Year 2 was Sadako's parents. This is 2. Three is Rika's parents. 4 is Aunt and Satoshi. Tepe leaves for a while. That's the only thing I can think of. And then we get to 5. And it's about this span of time the game takes place. So what else happens? Sadako's parents, they support the dam. Okay. The dam. Supporters. Sadako's parents. The workers, of course. Who else supports the dam? Is it anybody else? What were Rika's parents' stance? I thought they were neutral. So let's talk about this. These two die. But the Sonozakis are not safe. Because if it was just, like, you know, it looks like the proponents of the dam are getting eliminated at first. Right? Because the workers get killed. And then Sadako's parents get killed. But then it's Rika's parents. But Rika's parents were kind of neutral. They were whatever about it. Which I guess, you know, might also, I guess, be a sin in and of itself. And then the aunt and Satoshi. But, here's the deal. Let's work off the presumption that the curse is not a supernatural force. That it is just a, you know, a phenomenon that some people are probably taking advantage of, but is not real. So, very first thing, let's think of why the workers would get killed. Because they're making the dam. Some party that is against the dam kills the workers. Going back to the tradition of Oniga Fuchi Village, they blame it on that. But then you still have the supporters. Sadako's parents die. That could be related as well. And so then, that's the people that are, like, explicitly supportive of the dam dead. But then we get to Rika's parents, who are neutral. That's difficult, but there's also the ongoing conflict of the three families in Himizawa, which I should write down here. Because these are important. The three families. Rika, the Furudes are one of those families, okay? The main three families are, it's the Sonozakis, Furudes, and then whatever the mayor was. I don't remember if it even said. His family. The mayor gets killed in Chapter 2. The Furudes are already pretty much dead, right? Rika's the last one left, and she is killed in Chapter 2. With the Sonozakis, all of them are also murdered. But that's in chapter 2. Yeah, if I remember, even just outsiders to Hinamizawa are kind of like eligible victims for the Watanagashi, which is why Keiichi gets a little scared in that's one of the reasons he's scared in chapter 1, if I remember. It's because he's an outsider. He moved to Hinamizawa. The time loop, if there is one. There's a syringe found on Rika's corpse in chapter 2 and believed to Matake in chapter 1. Yeah. Is. And that eerie guy. Keiichi also knows things he didn't in previous chapters. Yes. Eerie is highly suspicious to me. We've kind of just reiterated stuff I know. Yeah, no, Keiichi has gotten increasingly aggressive towards Uishi over time. Each chapter, I feel like he likes him less and less, right? Not that he ever liked him, but they had a working relationship in chapter 1. Meanwhile, by the time we get to chapter 3, just the sight of Uishi seems to disgust Keiichi. Which tells me there is something happening between chapters, whether it's a time loop or something else. There's something there. Or it's not a pure loop, and they're self-contained. Things are bleeding in from previous chapters, I think. He's also deeply creeped out by Takano, I notice. But that is also, she is just generally creepy. And I don't remember how creeped out he was in previous chapters, so I don't know if that's changed. One thing you could do is just skim by previous tips. I could. They're all in there. called Tips for Nothing. I might have to look back at them. It might be worth it. Okay, we've been going for an hour longer than normal, theorizing. We've gotten nowhere. I mean, I've been able to remember some more things as y'all have reminded me, which is good. But I want to form a cohesive story of what's going on. And I feel we have separate stories going on here. We've got the conflict of the three families, who are like the power centers of Hinamizawa. They all get wiped out chapter 2. But that's specifically a chapter 1 ordeal, right? Or chapter 2 ordeal. Chapter 1 doesn't have that happen. Rika, as far as we know, lives through chapter 1. That one guy that was taking it for the murder on is dead. That's true. He died in custody, right? I think they mentioned like chapter 1 he swallowed a fork or something. I don't remember that. I am a believer that Satoshi killed the aunt. I do believe that. And I believe it for a couple of reasons. Well, because, I mean, it makes sense considering, you know, just some random guy did it. But Satoshi, very hard in chapter 3, has all of the dialogue and writing been like, hey, Keiichi is so much like Satoshi. They have a lot in common. He even had this exact same phone call with Mion, to the point that like while she was tipsy she thought it was Satoshi. Like the night before the Watanagashi, before the aunt died, where he had a very similar call to the one Keiichi gave her, saying like, hey, take Sadako to the festival. I can't do it, I got something to do, can't tell you, it'll just be for today though. And then the aunt died. Keiichi did it because he needed Sadako gone to kill... Keiichi did it because he needed Sadako gone to kill Teppei. So it makes sense that Satoshi did the same probably to get Sadako gone to get the aunt. Now... So I can believe that year 4 that's what happens. But I'm not super sold on the idea that Satoshi ran away. It feels too convenient, right? And like, this boy just ran away and they never found him. I mean, that's not crazy. Especially in a pre-internet age that the game takes place in. You know, it's like he's from rural Japan in the 80s. It was a lot easier to disappear back then. But still, you know. Part of me has to wonder if something happened to him. Because we do have that knowledge in chapter 1 of, and this was another thing I used to point to of like, wow, they are really hammering in that Keiichi's a lot like Satoshi. Is Satoshi also randomly started carrying his bat around and was getting super paranoid that he was being hunted down or watched by someone, I think, in chapter 1, like how Keiichi was. And I believe it. I think they got him. I think that Satoshi did not run away. I think he got by someone. And I think it was whatever forces was also out to get Keiichi in chapter 1. Also had a moment like that this stream, which is fun. But and that they got Satoshi for whatever reason. Okay, that's the bit I don't understand. Is why did they get him? And or he's a. It's weird. Especially if he did kill the aunt. Even if Satoshi didn't kill the aunt, by the way, I don't buy that random guy they caught did it. He was absolutely a patsy. I would honestly believe Satoshi didn't do it. But doesn't make sense. Because in chapter 1, it seems like Rena and Mion are in on this group or conspiracy. They try to get Keiichi, and he beats him to death. But like, it seems like they're in on it. But then Rena is surprisingly clean in chapter 2. She's the one member to make it out without dying, as far as we know, at least. Because I also have to acknowledge that the game probably doesn't tell me everything, and I can't assume someone is okay just because I don't hear about it. Because there is the question. Chapter 1, it was a long time ago, so I don't remember everything. But also, like, they don't find Takano in chapter 1. She is considered the missing person in the Watanagashi. But they find her in chapters 2 and seemingly chapter 3. Did she still burn in that barrel in chapter 1 and they just didn't find her for some reason in that chapter? Or is her fate entirely different in chapter 1 and she didn't burn in that barrel in that I'm going to say loop because it seems like we're in a time loop, but I don't know. And there's also the thing about, like, again, we talked to her when she's apparently been dead. I'm starting to feel for my boy Uiji trying to solve this shit. No, imagine being him. Like, look at this document I've made. It doesn't even scratch the surface. I'm not writing everything down. And I also have a lot of questions with Teppei. Because we don't really know anything about Teppei until chapter 3. Because chapter 3 is a very Sadako-focused chapter. But Teppei is absent from chapters 1 and 2. He does not, as far as we know, I don't think he comes back to Hinamizawa. Why is chapter 3 different? Pepe, you're strange to me. But yeah, he's absent outside of chapter 3. I'm lost. And you see, I feel like the character I earnestly have the least suspicions for is Uishi. Because I know there's the whole thing of shit tends to go bad when he shows up. But I don't know if that's his fault. Like, I don't think he's really, like, a bringer of bad omens or whatever. I think it's he shows up when shit's getting bad because he's a cop and he's investigating murders. He's gonna show up when shit gets bad. And I think he's very earnestly trying to investigate this thing. But man, did we learn some shit about Takano today. Because my impression of Takano prior was that she was just really weird and creepy. But she's definitely killed someone. Like, it feels like it's very overt that when we part ways with her at the end there of what we just played, she's like, we didn't meet tonight. And Ketchy's like, she has the same thing going on that I have going on. I like how Ketchy wanted Takano to die by burning. Very funny, isn't it? It's all very strange. Like, is that like, Ketchy's saying, like, haha, I want her to burn. And then she does. Is that more knowledge from a previous chapter leaking into Keiichi's head subconsciously? Or did he legit have some supernatural effect on what happened to her? That's the question for me right now on that. Is, did Keiichi, like, will that into happening through something supernatural? Like, I think some Oyashiro-sama shit is going on. When he's in murder mode, you hear those fucking, like, bells. Like, you hear those bells, I think they are. Whenever some Oyashiro-sama shit is going on in Keiichi's head. And I believe they played when he said that. And if they maybe not actually. I don't remember. See, I've already forgotten. It definitely played a lot when he was in murder mode, planning the murder. And it feels like it's a reference to Oyashiro-sama. For sure. So did Oyashiro-sama make that shit happen because Keiichi wanted it to? Or did Keiichi think about Takano burning because that is knowledge he should not have from a previous chapter leaking into this time loop? And I'm going to keep saying time loop because I think that's what's happening. I don't know. But Takano definitely comes up with her. I think she killed Tomitake. That's not certain, it's not confirmed, but I think that's what happened. She has his bike in her car. Her trunk is full when she meets us. And she's like, we never met this night, which means I saw or know something I shouldn't know about her. And that convo kind of picked up with the bike. So, you know, I don't know if Tomotake's corpse was in that trunk when she picked me up, right? I don't know if that's the case. But what I do know is that she had his bike and she got real defensive about it. And was like, no, that's not his. And it's like, that's his bike. And then he's found dead. She killed him, right? But why is the question. She's creepy, but why? She's really into the history of Hinamizawa and like Onigafuchi village. And like we see her get really into it in chapter 2 when we break into the storehouse. And then she's seemingly killed for, you know, breaking the rules of the village, right? The curse gets them. But again, she's dead before the Watanagashi in chapter 2, apparently. Which makes you question, who the fuck did we talk to? Like, does she have a twin? Is this a Mion Shion situation? Is it ghosts? Could be ghosts. Because we also have some crazy shit with Mion going on towards the end of chapter 2 as well, where she's apparently already dead by the time we encounter her outside of our house and she stabs us. And then we see her in the hospital room, right? When at the very end of the chapter. It's also puzzling. All I know is they always get that guy, Tomitake. He always gets got. Sucks for him, yeah, no kidding. I need to know more about Eerie. Because Eerie, just because I know so little about him, is like my number one, like, guy I'm suspicious of. Right? Like, they all call him Coach, and I know it's because he actually is like a coach or whatever. But like, he seems to have this rapport with the team, all of the gang except for Keiichi. He wants to pick Sadako. I know that's the case, but I don't know. He's just weird to me. I'm just looking at all the pieces, and I'm looking for how they connect. You really want a good theory for all this? I know, I do. Because we got good reasons to believe Takano is up to some bad shit. And I think Eerie's up to some bad shit. But what? See, here's the deal. This is crucial because it's not enough, right, to say, I think this character killed this character. Okay, why did they do it? Right? That's what we don't have. Why kill Tomitake? Like, he's such a weird figure to target. Because, sure, he's an outsider to Hinamizawa, and, like, he disrespects the shrine in Chapter 2 by being one of the people to break in. But what did he even really do in Chapter 3 prior to his death? I mean, we barely saw the guy. There's nothing to say that Tomitake and Takano don't break into the storehouse off screen in Chapter 3 during the Watanagashi, right? But Takano aids in it in Chapter 2. Right? She's the one that's like, hey, let's do it, if I remember correctly. And then what? Am I supposed to say that, like, Tomitaki's like, oh, okay, fine, if you really want to. And then what? She kills him because it's like, no, you're not supposed to go in the storehouse. Maybe. It's all very weird. It's all very, very weird. In Chapter 1, we were hanging out with Tomitaki the best when we first saw her there with him. Yeah. I forget that we actually spent some time with that guy. He was like he was a member of our crew in Chapter 1. Yeah, see, in Chapter 1, he had injuries that indicated assault. I remember this. Okay. Yeah. So I'm going to lean fully into it. I'm just going to say it, and I'm going to operate with this assumption for now, until I feel my opinion change otherwise. I do not think the curse, as in, I'm not saying there's no supernatural forces, but I think the curse, the one person dies and one person disappears because they get demoned away. The Oishiro-sama's curse, I don't think it's real. Oishiro-sama may be real, there may be some other supernatural force. I think there is, because of the time loop and characters being weird and possessed. But I'm going to say that people are not getting demoned away. And being taken to, like, what, hell or whatever, Onigafuchi. I think something is happening to these people who disappear. I think that Satoshi, he disappeared year 4 of the curse. I don't think he got demoned away or anything like that. I don't think he ran away. I think he got nabbed for some reason. I think... What was I going to say? I forgot. Yeah. Takano... God, she's weird. Because even then, the pattern of the curse completely breaks down when we get to year 5, which is when the game seems to always take place. Is the 5th year of the curse. Is it seems to break down every time. Because chapter 1, okay, we've got the curse. Tomitake is the dead one. Takano disappears, chapter 1. But chapter 2, we find that she, before the Watanagashi, dead in a barrel, burned? Yeah, he had that presence behind him in chapter 1. It was creepy. Because I could believe that Takano dies the same way in chapter 1, and just they don't find her for some reason. But why does it change? Why is she dead before the Watanagashi? But then we talk to her. Is there back and forth? I mean, is there back and forth time travel? I don't know. Because we kind of get... Because we depart from Takano late in the night this chapter, after the Watanagashi festival has definitely already ended. And it's late at night. She leaves us at our house after she's presumably killed Tomitake or had a hand in the death of Tomitake. And she has her whole, don't tell anyone we met tonight, because that's definitely, she's committed a crime. And she doesn't need it to be known that she was driving on, I guess, that particular route that night with Tomitake's bike. And then she somehow ends up in a barrel, an oil drum, and burns. I mean, assuming that that body that we just came up with in that tip is hers. I'm going to assume it is because it's the same manner that she's found dead in chapter 2. But that's like, they find the drum as it's burning in that tip, right? I guess they don't say when that tip is, do they? Because that could be not currently. For all I know, that tip could be set like several days ago. And we're talking to ghosts again. Because I don't think it's said when it takes place. Takano, you're more important than I thought you would be. Okay. Well, we definitely gotta call it a night. It's late. We've been streaming for an hour and half later than normal. But I hope you all had a good time with the stream. Next stream will be on Wednesday, and that's gonna be more Tomodachi Life, so I hope to see you all there. The crazy fun stream, I know. And then after that, we'll do more GTA 4 on Friday. So I got hiccups now. And then, so next Monday, week from now, will be more Higurashi. So I'll see you all then, and good night.